fair maiden. I glance at his paper and grin. Writing poetry on the go, huh? And on paper, no less.
He's always thinking in verse, and he thinks paper makes him look more legitimate, Corinne says. He's even been known to write on his body if no paper presents itself. One time I caught him scribbling a sonnet on his thigh in marker.
Whit's still looking down at his paper, pen in mouth.
It was the only thing around. A poet's got to do what a poet's got to do.
Can't you just use your e-glass? I ask. Whit rolls his eyes and makes a face like I just suggested he wear tin foil as clothing.
Did the great poets of old create masterpieces with an e-glass? I think not.
Corinne chuckles.
Whit is a traditionalist with his writing. If he could find one of those ancient typewriter things that still worked, he'd use one.
When we arrive at class, Grandmaster Marion is standing with a satchel thrown over her shoulder. Don't get comfortable. Today's lesson is going to be a field trip. We're heading to the city to introduce you to Curatio Domus, the best hospitaller hospital and research facility in the world. My heart is happy for just a moment. No tests! Until it's there that we will have our first test. Of course. Corinne, however, looks like a kid at Christmas. She grabs my hand and squeezes. This is fantastic! I can't wait for you both to meet some people there. Whit sticks the paper on which he was scribbling back into his pocket.
She's been volunteering at the hospital since she was old enough to go into the city by herself.
I thought you were raised in Sapientia, I ask.
We were,
Whit says.
But we spent our summers at Castle V for extra training.
Our entire initiate class walks through the castle gate and into Vianney, toward the subway. Once inside the city, Grandmaster Marion leads us at a brisk pace through the busy streets and sidewalks until we reach Curatio Domus. Students, stay together and be respectful. Garin and his friends are joking around, punching each other and laughing, and the Grandmaster scowls at them. That includes you three, unless you want to flunk this class your first day. They settle down enough that we are able to enter the hospital. A beautiful young woman with chestnut brown hair and blue eyes smiles at Corinne when we walk in. Princess, it's so nice to see you again. Hi, Sarah. How's our patient? Sarah picks up a patient chart from the front desk. Why don't you come say hi and see for yourself? Corinne looks over at Grandmaster Marion, who nods. You and your friends can say hi briefly. I'm going over hospital protocol. Make sure to explain the rules to Whit and Scarlet. I will, Corinne says as we follow Sarah down a long corridor and into a private room. A young girl, no older than 12, is lying in bed and using her e-glass to project a video onto the e-screen in front of her. She's watching a surgery of some kind, which she clicks off when she sees us. Sarah smiles at the girl. Hi there, Charlie. I have some friends here who wanted to visit. Is that okay? Charlie grins, her dark brown eyes striking in her too pale face.
Sure. I love having visitors.
Corinne steps forward. Hi. You're looking good. What were you watching?
Princess! I'm so glad you came by. I was just checking out videos on the surgery I'm about to have. They think they can replace my kidney with a genetically modified one from an ape that won't break down under attack from my body. I might get to finally go home soon.
Sarah looks at us. Charlene, or Charlie, has stage 4M chronic kidney failure, a new mutation of kidney disease where her body attacks her kidneys and destroys them. A regular transplant won't work, but through the research of the hospitallers and genetic modifications, we might have found a cure. Corinne waves us forward. Charlie, this is my twin, Whit.
I've heard a lot about you, Whit. Nice to meet you. And thank you for that poem. I love it.
Whit bows.
Anything for a lady as fair as you.
Charlie giggles. Corinne points to me. And this is Scarlet, a new friend of ours. It's nice to meet you, Charlie.
You too, she says. I like your eyes.
I smile. I like yours too. They remind me of chocolate. We chat with her for a few more minutes and then leave to catch up with our group as Corinne explains the protocol. We spend some time touring the hospital, including the labs where much of the genetic research is done. I don't know how I feel about it all, but I have to admit the facility is impressive, and they accept all kinds of patients, Zens, plebes, and Pats.
The hospital is funded by the orders, Grandmaster Marion says, and is open to all, regardless of income or social class. No one has to pay to be treated here. We offer cutting-edge medical care and incorporate the latest in medical research into our diagnostics and treatments.
I think of all those sick and dying back home. We could have used a place like this. We head down a long, narrow hall and stop before a door with a restricted sign on it.
Here's where you will have your first test. Are you ready?
No. But we go in anyways, and in the middle of an empty, well-lit room is a dead, naked body splayed out in all its dead, naked glory. I pause, taking it in as the Grandmaster explains what we're to do.
You have 2 hours to study this body and identify all the major organs and bones, then diagnose her cause of death.
She pulls out a stack of papers.
You will divide into groups of 4 and begin.
Corinne, Whit, and I stick together, and Kai walks over to us.
Looks like you need another member.
Corinne smiles at her brother.
Perfect.
Kai looks at me, and I hold eye contact with him.
Any objections?
He asks. Nope.
Good.
Whit chuckles.
You two will either kill each other by the end of the quarter, or fall in love. I'm not sure which yet.
I turn an evil eye on him as Grandmaster Marion clicks a button, and our tablets bing with new files. I open them and see a form with the skeletal system drawn on it, another image with a picture of the body before us, and spaces for filling in the information. We all move closer to the table with the body and see that it's been cut open and spread for dissection and analysis. One of the guys in our group turns away to a trash can and vomits into it while the students around him step back, covering their noses.
Begin,
Marion says. Corinne looks to all of us.
Anyone want to start?
No one speaks as we stare at the body.
Come on, mates. We all have to contribute.
I know she's right, but I'm useless here. I look down at my tablet. Okay, let me see. I type something in and it shows up on all the tablets in my team. Corinne looks at my answer, then raises an eyebrow at me.
Really?
She says. What? She places a hand over mine.
Just stop typing. I adore you, Scarlett, and if I ever need anyone to hack into anything, you're my first call. But seriously, elbow and knee? That's the best you could do?
No, I wasn't done, I argue. There's also toes, a head, legs, arms, lots of things. Kai chuckles, and Corinne turns on him.
Care to take over, big brother?
He waves his hands.
Nope, I'm afraid I'm as useless as Scarlet at the moment. This is your field, little sister, not mine.
Hey, I say, feigning offense. He just raises an eyebrow.
Am I wrong?
In general, yes, I argue, but perhaps not entirely at this moment. He smirks as Corinne looks to Whit.
Surely you've picked up something from me in all these years of shared DNA?
Corinne asks her twin. Whit studies the body.
I know there's a tibia somewhere, and a fibula or something.
Corinne sighs.
You 3 are hopeless.
She quickly fills in the entire skeletal system and all the organs herself. I whistle. Impressive!
While you were becoming the youngest criminal hacker in history, Whit says, my sister here was playing with bones.
Corinne clutches her tablet to her side and stares at the body.
Now the hard part. We have to figure out how she died.
How's that even possible? I ask. Don't we need to be able to run tests and stuff? Or to know something about her medical history?
It depends on the cause,
Corinne says.
Presumably not in this case, if Grandmaster Marion believes we can actually come close to succeeding.
I'm not convinced that's true, but I keep my skepticism to myself. Kai grins at me as if he can read my thoughts, and I think we're sharing the same suspicions. I grin back, but Corinne doesn't give up. She spends the next hour pointing out clues.
Look here, she says, pointing to the brain. The tissue is too soft and is atrophied. There's also some vertical enlargement, and damage of hypoxic ischemic leukoencephalopathy in both the bilateral globus pallidus and cerebral white matter.
I just nod, because I have no idea what she's talking about. In fact, I'm pretty sure she's just making words up at this point. But she's getting animated as our time approaches.
I think I know what killed this poor woman,
Corinne says at last. She types up notes in her tablet and draws some expertly rendered pictures of small parts of the brain in exquisite detail. The Grandmaster comes to sync with our tablets so she can check our work. She studies our answers, then looks up at us with a raised eyebrow.
I'm not even going to ask who came up with this.
She looks at Corinne.
So your diagnosis is?
Acute carbon monoxide poisoning after a long-term vegetative state,
Corinne says with confidence.
That's very impressive, Princess. You do realize it's extremely difficult to make this diagnosis from an autopsy alone.
Corinne beams.
Am I right?
The teacher nods.
You are. You have a real future in our order, she says.
The Grandmaster glances at me.
As for the rest of you, I really hope you have a different order picked for your future. And you'd better hope the princess is always around when you need her.
Wit sighs dramatically as she walks off. If only there were an order devoted to the preservation of poetic imagery and language. That would surely be my calling. I tug at Wit's arm. That's enough, Shakespeare. Let's get out of here. I need some fresh air that's not tainted with the aroma of formaldehyde. The chemical stench still singes my nose hairs as my mind fades into the land of sleep. A voice shakes me out of the almost dream I'm reaching for.
Scarlet, wake up! Time to study!
I roll over, closing my eyes tighter. Nox purrs and shifts his body to lay over my neck. Scarlet isn't here right now, I mumble. Leave a message after the beep. Beep. Corinne chuckles. So not a morning person or a night person. Got it. You're one of those mid-afternoon people. I sit up reluctantly and rub my eyes. No, I'm just not a never-sleep-at-all person. She grabs my hand and pulls me from the bed.
Come on, the guys are waiting for us. We're going to study in the library tonight.
Okay, fine. Just let me get my stuff. I stick my e-glass on my ear and Evie comes to life.
Hello, Scarlet. You have a message from Zoran.
I sigh. Okay, show me. A text appears.
You coming tonight? Z.
I reply. Nope. Homework. He replies immediately.
Sad face.
I laugh out loud. I'm trying to imagine the big, tough Nephilim using emoticons. It's hard to picture. Corinne looks up from stuffing her pack.
What's so funny?
Just something Evie said.
You have an unusual relationship with your AI. You must have done a lot of customization.
I nod. Yes, I did. I guess when you grow up a homeschooled computer geek in the middle of nowhere, you make your own friends. Literally. She laughs, but it's a sad kind of laugh. You had Jax, though, right? I frown. I suppose I did. We grab our bags and head out to meet the guys. I feel sad for you, she says. I can't imagine growing up not knowing about any of this, and then finding out the way you did. I'm sorry. I shrug. Thanks. It's hard, but I try not to think about it too much. I don't really have the luxury of grieving for everything I've lost. She tugs at a stray blue hair. Grief doesn't go away, Scarlet. don't shut it out for too long. It'll come back and bite you when you least expect it. She sounds like she's speaking from experience, but Wit jogs up to us and throws an arm around me before I can respond. "How are the two most beautiful women in all the land doing this fine evening?" he asks. "Sleepy," I say. "To sleep is to let in the dreams of the gods," he says. "Then this studying is keeping me from my divine destiny," I retort. Kai catches up with us as we head to the library. "What lessons should we work on first?" "I don't know why we have to do this tonight," I say. "None of it's due until Wednesday." "You don't think our classes tomorrow will have work for us too?" Corinne asks. "Oh, right." Kai pushes open the large engraved doors of the library, and we step into one of my favorite places in the castle. Books line the 3-story tower, many only reachable with tall ladders on wheels that move around the circular walls. There are wooden tables and overstuffed chairs spread throughout the library for studying and reading. We make our way to a large table in the middle and lay our tablets down. Most of our assigned books are electronic, but there are books stored here that haven't been scanned. And there's something comforting about being surrounded by actual physical books. It makes me think of home. The librarian smiles when she sees us, adjusting her glasses.
"Scarlet, it's good to see you again. Still researching for your project?"
I smile self-consciously. "No, just here to study with my friends."
"How did your first day of class go?"
She walks over to us, her blue dress loose around her slight frame. She has large brown eyes, fading brown hair, and a small nose on which her thick black glasses sit. "They were okay, except law. Ragathon doesn't like me. Not sure he likes anyone." She smiles with sympathy.
"He can be a hard man to warm up to, but I'm sure it'll get easier as the year goes on. Let me know if you kids need anything."
She walks away, and all 3 of my friends look at me strangely. "What?" I ask. "You seem to come here a lot," Corinne says. "It's been pretty quiet here the last few weeks, so I thought I'd get caught up on my politics." Wit gestures to the librarian. "You do know that's Ragathon's wife, right?" My jaw drops. "No, I didn't! Oh man, I'm such a biter! I can't believe I complained about her husband to her face." Kai shrugs. "She's probably used to it. I love my uncle, but he isn't always the easiest for others to get along with." I sink into my seat. Let's just get this over with. I do need some sleep tonight if we're expected to do another before dawn PT. We all open our books and dive in, but after a few moments I look up. Hey, is there another section to this library? Somewhere they keep books they don't want students reading? "You mean aside from the restricted section you hacked in class today?" Kai asks. "Yeah, besides that." He shakes his head. "That's it." "Oh." I look back down at my book, disappointed. I've already perused that section. Nothing on angels that isn't pulled from the Bible and old legends I've already heard. An hour into our studying, as I'm typing in notes for law, a hand lands on my shoulder, and I look up into familiar blue eyes. "Jax!" He smiles. "Hi, Scarlet. I've been looking everywhere for you." I put down my tablet. "I've been here." He chuckles. "I see that." His hand is still on my shoulder as he looks at the others. "Hi," he says to the 3 of them. "It's good to see you all. Mind if I borrow Scarlet for a few minutes?" Kai frowns, but Corinne smiles. "That's up to her, obviously," Corinne says. Jax looks down at me. "Can we talk? I want to show you something." Chapter 9. The Forge. Jax escorts me through the courtyard and down a dirt trail I've never followed. We walk for a while, and eventually the dirt is replaced with stone. Abstract metal sculptures begin to line the path through the forest. One reminds me of a woman and man embracing. Another reminds me of the sea. I can't imagine sculpting such beauty. Jax leads me down 3 stone steps where a great forge stands before a wall of carvings. Wind howls around this monument below the stars. The heat beats against my skin. The carvings tell stories of great knights. And those, he points at a pattern of swords hanging at the top of the wall, those belonged to some of them. Jax grabs an apron off a chair and puts it on. It's thick and tough and smells like leather. He picks up tongs and pulls a red-hot piece of steel from the forge. He brings it to an anvil and begins to shape it with a hammer. Sparks fly. "I like to come here," he says over the cacophony of sounds created by metal and fire. "To think. To remember. To forget." I never knew he was a blacksmith. Are any of those sculptures yours? Yes, a few. Your work is beautiful. Ella, Grandmaster Gabriella, taught me after... He stops himself and slams the hammer down harder than before. Ella taught me. The steel stretches as he works on it, turning into a blade. Do you like forging swords? He pauses. See this steel? It's raw potential, but I give it purpose. I can change one thing to another. I can make it better. He resumes hammering. I walk closer, but avoid the sparks. Like the orders? Like everything. He pushes the steel into a bin of water. Steam rises. Take you, for example. Your parents forged you into who you are. Now, you must decide who you want to be. People can change. Everything can be transformed. He lays the steel bar down on the anvil and removes his apron and glasses. The steel resembles the shape of a sword. I've thought about our talk regarding Nightfall, and though I still believe she is in the wrong, I also believe she is like the steel. She has raw potential, and if she can find the right purpose, she can do great things. His words mean more to me than he knows. I hug him, and he hugs me back. He pulls away too soon. Scarlet, there's something I have to tell you. Tomorrow night, I will be the one whipped in the courtyard. What? Why? The council has determined that I must be punished for going after Apex without order approval. It was Varian, wasn't it? I heard him ask if you'd ever been disciplined. I raise a fist, as if to fight Varian now. Jax lowers my hand. I don't know if it was Varian, but it's what the council has decided. I will accept the necessary punishment. He looks so calm, almost happy. I ball my fists. This isn't just, or right. You did what you had to do, what was lawful, to save innocent lives. But, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't have involved yourself. Maybe it wasn't worth it. I couldn't have defeated Brooke without his help, but I hate that this has cost him, that he will suffer for his involvement. He sits on a stone step and pulls me to his side. Did I ever tell you how I killed the Nephilim girl? I shake my head as he stares into the flames. Do you know of my mother? My anger fizzles into something softer. She died when you were born. No. My mother was a Templar, and I was born at Castle V. When my father was assigned to watch over your family, it was decided that I'd go with him, so that I could have a normal life, so I wouldn't grow up surrounded by battle and death. I had no idea. I take his hand, my heart hurting for him. All this he kept inside. It's not the first time I see the sacrifice he's made in keeping these secrets, in living a double life. He squeezes my hand and continues holding it as he talks. For years, I thought, just as you, that my mother was dead. But when I discovered I was a Zenith, when I asked my father to join the orders, he told me the truth. About our family, our patrician status, our connection to the orders. It takes him a moment to speak again. That summer, I traveled to Castle V, and I met my mother. She was beautiful, Scarlet, and kind. She was everything I'd dreamed my mother would be. She taught me how to fight, how to forage. She taught me what it meant to be a knight, how to do the right thing, no matter the cost.
A bead of sweat runs down my forehead as flames from the forge heat up the air around us. I ignore the discomfort and focus on Jax.
When I was 16, my mother and I were stationed at a Templar control center. It was a secret location, where Templars could receive and give orders. I was there to observe and learn. It was supposed to be safe from the violence of the war. They wouldn't have let me be there if they didn't think it was secure. But we were ambushed. Someone betrayed us.
He squeezes my hand harder, his face a mask of grief and anger.
My mother killed 2 Nephilim while I disarmed a Zenith. We thought it was over. And then I saw her. I still remember her face. The long black hair. The cold blue eyes. She looked a year younger than me. I could have stopped her. I should have stopped her. But I didn't.
His voice hitches and turns gravelly, almost a whisper, as he continues.
The girl charged my mother from behind, and she slit my mother's throat.
A tear trickles down his cheek.
As my mother fell to the ground, the girl turned on me, and finally my training kicked in. We fought. I kicked her, and her body fell back, impaling itself on a spear stuck in the wall behind her. It tore through her heart, killing her. I ran to my mother, to hold her, to tell her she'd be fine. But she was already gone.
He turns his face to look at me now, his eyes so full of sorrow.
I was the only one left alive. The orders contacted my e-glass. They said someone was fleeing the area through the woods, possibly the traitor, and I was to terminate them. So I followed.
He pauses, and I just hold his hand tighter, waiting for him to finish, knowing there's something more, something even worse.
I caught him, Jax whispers. The traitor. It was my father.
I suck in a breath, shock stabbing my chest like a knife. Mr. Lux? A traitor? I feel the weight of Jax's pain, his hurt. Mr. Lux was family. I can't imagine being in Jax's position, having to face that kind of betrayal.
I asked him why, Jax says as he gazes back into the flames. He tried to explain. He never believed the Nephilim were evil. The war was pointless. He'd been helping end it. I told him my mother was dead because of him. He told me he didn't know. Didn't know we were at the control center. But how could I trust a traitor?
He looks back at me again, his eyes pleading for understanding, for absolution, for forgiveness.
I had to kill him. For the orders. For my mother. For me.
He drops his chin to his chest, his eyes closing.
And so I did.
My heart breaks as I reach for him, wrapping my arms around his shoulders as he leans against my shoulder and cries. I think back to that time, to seeing him beat up in the hospital, his heart broken from the loss of his father. The pain behind his eyes I assumed was because of the car accident. But no, it went so much deeper. It was so much more horrible. He'd lost both his parents then. He'd been forced to kill his father. And he couldn't tell me. My parents couldn't tell me. I let him grieve alone, never knowing the full weight of his pain. Jax, when you moved in with us, when you lost him... He squeezes my hand. I wanted to tell you, but the orders wouldn't let me. It killed me, keeping it from you. But you... He looks into my eyes. You helped me heal. You brought me back to life. Your love, your light, your laughter, and your hope. You helped me heal more than you can know. Tears stream down my face. I'm choked with emotion, and all I can do is hold him tighter. We sit there in silence, our bodies close, our hearts closer, each of us lost in years long ago. After some time, I speak through my silent tears. That's why you helped Nightfall defeat Apex. He nods, knowing I understand him like no one else, knowing we are kindred spirits, always. I hesitated once to do what was right to save someone. I will never hesitate again. When the orders wouldn't act against Apex, I knew I had to. And I don't regret it. I did the right thing, Star. I saved the innocent. It is all I can do. It's enough, I tell him. He turns his head to look at me, and I hold his eyes with mine. All you can do. It's enough. You're enough. You always have been. A tear leaks from his blue eyes. Thank you. I nod. There are no words to speak what's in my heart, but he knows. I stand, eventually, my heart heavy. You should get some rest. You have a big day tomorrow. He nods, standing as well. You're right. He escorts me back to the Initiate's common hall and says goodnight. I kiss him on the cheek before he leaves, and I can taste his tears on my lips. I'm about to go inside, when someone whistles. I turn and see a familiar shadow leaning against a tree. Zoran? What are you doing here? He grins. I had to see how your first day went. I run up to him and quiet my voice. And what if someone recognizes you? Only a few know my face. For most, I'm just someone who lives and works on the island. So, how was it? I cross my arms, my mind still full of the past. It was okay. Some bad, some good. Varian teaches my combat class. His eyes squint with concern. Scarlet, do not train with him. Why not? He hasn't recognized me. This is my chance to study him, to learn his weaknesses. It's also your chance to eliminate him. His eyes grow dark. Use your power to kill him. The thought has crossed my mind. I push it away. No, if I kill him, someone else will take his place. Then when do I stop? When the orders are destroyed. I scowl. I can't walk around grabbing people and ordering them to suicide. Someone will notice. Zoran sighs. You know, before this is over, more people will die. You can't save everyone. He speaks a truth I've refused to face. I don't want anyone to die at my hands. I keep my resolve. I will not kill Varian. I will learn from him. And one day, I will surpass you both. I turn and march for the door. And once you have, says Zoran, what will you do? I glare at him. I will advance to a Knight of the First, and I will build an army. I will turn the orders against each other, and I will crush them. Chapter 10. Day 2. It's a gray day, full of clouds and wind with a light rain spatter. The dirt under my feet has turned to a slimy mud, and my clothes are sticking to my body as I swing my sword against an invisible enemy, practicing the attack and defense drill Jax just showed us. You're improving, Scarlet, Jax says as he makes his way around the arena.
He puts a hand under my elbow and moves it up. Good. Keep working on your form. You don't want to leave yourself open for attack. Okay, I say. I was up all night thinking about what Jax told me about his family. We need more time together. More time to talk and just be. But today we're back to our roles, and Varian has a meeting this morning, which means Jax is in charge of combat. Which makes me his student, not his best friend. So we keep it professional. He goes through the morning casually, like he's not about to be whipped for doing the right thing. I wish I could help him somehow. Jax walks across the arena to help Lana on her thrust. His back is turned to me, and he's out of earshot when Garen and his friends surround me.
You may fool everyone here,
Garen says.
But I know you're just a rich brat who bought her way into a spot that should have gone to someone more deserving.
They all have their swords out, and while I know they won't attack me with everyone here, my heart still beats a little faster. I heard about your sister, and I'm sorry. I had no idea, but you need to back off and knock that chip off your shoulder. He growls and moves closer, pushing me back against his sidekick Bartholomew, who uses his elbow to knock me forward. I rub between my shoulder blades where I'm sure a nice bruise is forming thanks to Bart. I'm debating about whether to use my powers, call Jax, or do something else, when Kai pushes Garen away and stands in front of me.
Back off, Garen. You know as well as I do Scarlet had nothing to do with your sister's rejection. If you have a problem, take it up with the council.
He sticks a finger in Garen's chest and pokes hard.
But leave Scarlet alone.
Bart looks over at Jax, and back to Garen.
Let's go, dude. My parents will kill me if I get in trouble in the first week.
Garen glares at Kai and me.
This isn't over.
They walk away, and I turn to Kai. Thanks for your help, though I have to admit I'm surprised.
Why's that?
You don't seem to like me much. He presses his lips together for a moment, his hand on the pommel of his sword.
It's not that. Look, I'm sorry I was a jerk yesterday. I shouldn't have brought up your parents. Corinne reamed me hard for that one. I'm not a bad guy, honest. I just do an excellent impersonation of one from time to time.
We'll see about that. I raise my sword. On guard? He grins and raises his.
On guard.
We're standing, not in a classroom, but in the vast park near the arena. My name is Grandmaster Ella, or Gabriella, if you prefer to be more formal. I'm the head of the Teutonic Order, and I'll be teaching your survival class this year. Today's lesson is going to test your tracking skills. The Grandmaster paces in front of us in her white Teutonic robes, her blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun. She's younger than the other Grandmasters, but no less impressive. Since this quarter is focused on the Teutonic Order, I suggest you take this class very seriously. She points to the forest around us. Somewhere out there, a pig has been released. Her name is Miss Piggy. Garen and his friends guffaw at that, and Grandmaster Ella glares at them. As I was saying, her name is Miss Piggy, and she's not to be hurt. Your mission is to track her, find her, and retrieve the special token inside the collar around her neck. You will be in teams of 2. The first team to bring me the token will receive extra points in this class, which will increase your odds of being granted a boon from me during your trial. Trust me when I tell you, you'll want that boon. She calls out the names of the teams, pairing up everyone. When she calls my name, I step forward and say a prayer to whatever gods may or may not exist that it's not Garen. Anyone but Garen. Miss Knight, you and Prince Kai will work together. Wit looks over at us from his team with Lana and winks. I roll my eyes at him as Kai walks to me.
Looks like fate has brought us together again,
he says. You're starting to sound like Wit.
He does have a way with words. Too bad it's not appreciated more in our family," he says, the corners of his lips turning down.
Grandmaster Ella raises her hand. "Oh, and did I mention that I also released a goat and a wild boar into this forest? Just to keep things interesting. You have 2 hours. Good luck." She drops her hand and everyone scampers off into the forest to search for the pig. Kai and I look at each other.
"I hope you're better at tracking than you are at identifying body parts," he says.
"Likewise," I tell him.
He grins. "Fair enough. Actually, I am. We did a lot of hunting back in Sapientia."
"Good," I say, because I'm decent at it too, and I want that boon.
I'm sure not going to be getting one from your uncle or APD. "True enough," he says. "Shall we get to it?"
We walk into the forest, looking for tracks against the light of the sun, which is hard given the cloud coverage and foliage. But it doesn't take long to find what we're looking for. We keep the tracks between us and the sun, so the light creates shadows in the print and makes it stand out from the surrounding soil. I point to one as we kneel in the dirt. "This isn't the pig," I say. "See how it's pointed here? That's the goat." Kai nods.
"I agree. Let's keep looking."
As we get deeper into the forest, Kai pulls out a flashlight to substitute for the missing rays of sun. We find another set of tracks, but based on the space between footprints, we can tell it's the boar, not the pig.
"I'm impressed,"
Kai says as we keep walking.
"I didn't expect this from the self-proclaimed computer geek."
My parents did all kinds of training with me growing up. I grin. Not anatomy and physiology, obviously.
"Obviously,"
he says. But we did this kind of thing all the time. I may know my way around a computer, but I'm still a Montana girl at heart. He nudges me with his shoulder.
"You're full of surprises."
I look up at him. "So are you, Prince Kai of the House of Ravens."
He rolls his eyes. "Please don't call me that."
"I can't imagine life as royalty," I say. "I know you think I grew up with all these connections, but I didn't know anything about my parents' involvement in this world until a few weeks ago. I grew up a plebe in a relatively normal life." His purple eyes soften as he looks at me.
"I'm a real jerk, I know."
He turns away as we climb over a fallen tree.
"My father brings out the best in me, obviously."
"Obviously," I agree. I look down just in time to catch the light of the sun as it lands on another track. "Kai, check it out! I think we found Miss Piggy." He crouches next to me, our legs pressed together.
"I think you're right."
We follow those tracks through the forest until we find the pig happily sunning in the one open spot in the forest. She's very pink, with coarse hair over her body that looks clean. We approach slowly, and she doesn't shy away, but instead walks toward us as if we might have a treat for her. I pull out a marshmallow I pocketed during breakfast and hold it out for her. Kai smirks at me.
"You keep marshmallows in your pocket?"
"Sometimes," I say. "Doesn't everybody?" He just shakes his head. But my marshmallow works. Miss Piggy comes over to us, her snout teasing out the air until she lands at my hand, eagerly munching up the white treat. Kai slips the collar off of her and pulls out a golden token with the Teutonic symbol on it.
"Got it!"
Miss Piggy finishes her treat and trots away as we stand. "That wasn't so hard," I say.
"We make a good team,"
Kai admits. Something rustles in the bushes around us, and Garen and Bart pop out.
"That's our token, and you're going to give it to us,"
Garen growls. Kai and I look at each other and smile. We both silently agree we are not going to give it to them. Bart puffs his chest.
"What are you smiling at?"
"Just an inside joke," I say. "And I'm sorry to disappoint, boys, but we aren't giving up the token." Kai looks at me.
"Are we really sorry, though?"
I cock my head as if considering. "No, you're right. We're not really sorry. We got here first. That's the rule." Kai waves his hands at Garen as if shooing away a fly.
You heard the lady. Move along. We have a token to deliver.
Garen raises his fist menacingly at Kai, but my partner doesn't look worried. I prepare to use my strength on Bart, if needed, but he looks less than excited about fighting.
Pure man, we shouldn't,
Bart says.
You know Jax will kill you if you hurt her.
Garen throws his friend a disapproving look.
Shut up! It's true,
Bart says.
Just let it go. There are other ways to earn a boon.
Kai and I don't stick around to listen to them bicker, and instead cut through the forest to find Grandmaster Ella. On the way, Kai looks over to me.
So, you and Jax?
What about me and Jax? He shrugs.
Never mind. None of my business.
During lunch, a group of people gathers around a circle of sand, watching as Prince Jeden of Sweden and a woman spar. I recognize the woman. She's wearing red and silver armor with an eye across her chest. She is the Seeker. Kira. The initiate lands a few punches.
Drop your guard again and find yourself in the dirt,
says Kira. Jeden raises his defenses. He strikes again. I nudge Akio with my elbow. Why's she wearing all that armor?
She practice the same way she fight on battlefield,
he says in his stilted accent. Jeden strikes again, but lowers his guard. Kira grabs his arm in a hold and knocks him to the ground with her leg. And you're dead, soldier. She addresses the crowd. Someone care to show me something new? No one responds. She snickers. I thought not. She acts as if initiates are below her. It angers me. You fought well, I say, if you consider beating someone with no training fighting. Murmurs spread through the crowd. A few initiates sneer at me. They think I'm being arrogant. But I'm being smart. This is an opportunity to make friends. Kira chuckles. I study my nails, not giving her my full attention. And I pause for dramatic effect. You made 3 mistakes. The Seeker raises an eyebrow and faces me. Her green eyes are piercing against her pale skin and black hair. Corinne was right, I realize. She is beautiful. She holds out her hand. Please inform us, great initiate. What were these mistakes? You favored your left leg. Your kicks left you vulnerable. Kira nods. Also, though you told Jeden to hold up his guard, you dropped your own twice. Murmurs of agreement travel through the crowd. Jeden meets my eyes, nodding. Perhaps he will be an ally now. And finally, I say, you turned your back to him. A soldier with his back turned to the enemy is a dead soldier. I shrug. Before you seek to criticize others, perhaps you should criticize yourself. Someone in the crowd gasps. And do you criticize yourself, initiate? Asks the Seeker. I do, I say. Every day. The crowd grows silent. Then why don't you enter the ring? Everyone stares at me. I can't back down. I can't show weakness. I lay my pack on the ground, walk up the small hill and enter the ring. Akio wishes me good luck. Kira and I begin to circle each other. I throw a few jabs to assess her reaction. She backs away often, keeping herself out of reach, but she doesn't reposition properly. Her stance is off balance. If I can close the gap, I can hit her. Kira strikes at my head. I block. She backs away. As expected. Now is my chance. I dash forward, and Kira's foot crashes into my skull. I collapse on the sand, my head pounding, my vision fuzzy. People chuckle, others wince in mock pain. Kira grabs my head, shoving it down until I can taste sand on my tongue. She whispers in my ear. I had 5 weaknesses, not 3. I didn't hold my guard, so he could practice delivering a blow. I didn't reposition, so he could attempt to knock me down. I taught him a lesson. Now here's yours.
You are weaker than I, initiate. Don't act otherwise unless you're prepared.
Leave her alone.
It's Jax. He stands near the hill, though it's hard to see him through the blinding sun with my face shoved into the dirt. Kira pushes off my head and stands up, facing him. Her lesson is over. Would you like a turn in the ring?
I defeated you in the tournament 2 days ago. You're not ready.
With swords, you can't match me in hand-to-hand.
Perhaps one day we'll see, but not today.
I manage to crawl to my knees, cradling my head. It feels primed to explode. Kira smiles at me. You know, Jax, when you kept talking about this girl from back home, I imagined more. Shame. I don't believe she'll make it through the first trial. She walks over to Jax and runs a finger down his shirt. Why don't you forget her now? Says Kira. Make it easier on yourself. We were good together. Jax grabs her finger and twists it. Kira gasps. Don't insult her, says Jax. Kira escapes the hold and jumps back, face clenched in pain. I feel sorry for you, she says, because one day you'll see that you and Scarlet cannot be together. She softens her voice. I hope that day doesn't come too late. As Kira walks away, Jax walks toward me and helps me stand.
Let me escort you to your class.
I nod, wrapping my arm around his as we shuffle down the hill. I reach for my pack, but Jax picks it up first. Thanks, I say. He nods and leads me through a short tunnel under a bridge that connects 2 buildings. I notice Kira talking with Ragathon. What's with her? I ask, still spitting sand out of my mouth.
She's trained here a long time, much longer than others. She can be critical of them. But she's a great knight, and a great teacher. She pushes people, and she does what's needed.
I'm not sure I agree, but I don't argue. Jax has known her longer. You two were together? He looks away.
We dated for a time, but it didn't work out.
I can't imagine Jax with someone so cold, so steely. Why does she think we are together? Jax shrugs.
She knows how much I care about you, how close we are. I think she's just jealous.
Jealous? Huh. Is there anything to be jealous about, I wonder? We arrive at my next class, Strategy and Tactics, and Jax says goodbye. I'm barely on time, but I did manage to clean myself up and get the taste of sand out of my mouth. My fast healing comes in handy in a school where getting beat up is par for the course. I enter a small room with 10 desks, each with an arranged chessboard on top. I find the seat opposite Corinne, who's playing with a knight piece. Varian stands at the head of the classroom, an e-screen behind him. He taps his e-glass, and an image of brackets appears on the screen.
Are we having a tournament?
Asks Wit.
Indeed. You will participate in a chess tournament, and I will evaluate your tactics.
Garen picks up a pawn, studying it.
What does this have to do with tactics?
Varian glances around the room.
Anyone care to answer that question?
I raise my hand. He nods. Chess involves many aspects of tactics, including positioning, studying your opponent, and thinking ahead.
Thank you, Miss Knight.
Varian waves at the screen.
As you can see, you've already been paired up. Begin.
I check my first opponent. Garen. I find him across the room and take a seat.
Let's get this over with,
he says, sighing. I beat him in 4 turns. I don't think he understands the game. Next is Bartholomew, one of Garen's rich lackeys.
I apologize in advance for my victory.
He smirks, flicking his blonde hair as he makes the first move. I beat him in 7 moves. I think I traumatize him. Corinne replaces Bart. She plays well, but her moves are too obvious. I win in 15 turns and feel almost bad about it. Wow, you're amazing, she says, smiling.
Will you teach me to play better?
Sure, I say as she walks away. We're left with an odd number of players. Varian pairs me with the extra. It means I need to play more games, but I don't care. I face Akio, the oldest amongst us. He's a strategic player with a calm head and a keen eye for placement. He uses his life experience to his advantage, and I admire him for that. He manages to capture my knights, but I checkmate him with my queen. He does a slight bow as he leaves the table.
"Thank you for the game, Scarlet Friend," he says.
My final opponent is Lana. I'm surprised. She never struck me as the strategic type. Everyone watches the game, Wit whispering encouragement over my shoulder and biting his nails. Lana plays well, thinking many moves ahead. But I think further. She manages to take my queen, but it's a trap, and I checkmate her with my rook and knight. Lana grins and shakes my hand.
I haven't lost in a long time.
She speaks in a cultured voice with only a trace of a Spanish accent. You're good, I say. We should play again sometime.
I'd like that.
She smiles at me as she stands. So would I. I nod my head with new respect. She's not just a pretty face. We all have layers. No one is ever really what they seem.
I think I'm going to like you,
she says, walking away. Varian takes her place, sinking into the chair across from me.
Congratulations, champion.
It wasn't much of a challenge, but I know my fellow classmates did their best, so I just say thank you. He picks up my queen, turning her in his hands.
Tell me, what did you learn?
Nothing.
Then you failed.
I raise an eyebrow at him, but I won every game.
Even your weakest opponent can teach you something.
I gesture at the board. Maybe you can teach me. Varian grins and puts down the queen. I'm excited to play, to study my opponent. But instead, he stands up and walks away.
I already have,
he says. This class is order, and I will be your instructor, says Kira, standing at the head of the room before a giant whiteboard. All the initiates sit on desks and chairs, arranged in a rising semicircle. It reminds me of a theater. Kira continues. Today you will perform impromptu persuasive speeches. After I give each of you your topic, you will have 2 minutes to prepare. She begins to call up initiates one by one. The topics are difficult, and, to my surprise, oppose four-order philosophies. Lana is asked to argue for the abolishment of royalty. Garen is asked to defend the terrorist group, the Red Eagles. Everyone does well. Finally, only Corinne, Wit, and I are left. Kira calls upon Wit first and announces his topic. Why should Nyx have won the war? Wit grins and looks up a few things on his e-glass. With a minute of prep time left, he declares he is ready. Wit's speech is eloquent and brilliant. He paints Nyx as a war hero, a man to be idolized and revered, and by the end, I feel as if I'd follow Nyx into any battle, no matter the cause. As Wit performs his closing line and bows, half the class applauds. Corinne and I give a standing ovation. Next is Corinne, who is tasked with defending the usefulness of the United Front Initiative, UFI. She does a better job than I would, citing their stellar management of transportation and construction. They are not the Four Orders. They are not powerful. But they handle the little things, and the little things can be very important. Of course, what Corinne doesn't mention is that the Four Orders could probably do better. As Corinne wraps up, Wit and I clap. She takes her seat, and Kira calls out, Next! I stand, realizing I'm the last person. Kira smirks. Ah, Miss Knight. Your topic. She rubs her chin and then smiles. Why must zeniths be regulated? The first topic to coincide with order values. She wants to anger me. She knows Jax is zenith, and I haven't kept my sympathy to their kind a secret. I don't let her aggravate me, though. I stay calm as I consider my speech. I'm outlining my conclusion when she says it's time. I walk up to the podium and address the class. Zeniths can be dangerous. They are born with great abilities, but no training. In order to keep everyone safe, zeniths have different rules and different laws. Unfortunately, most of these laws are focused not on safety, but on power and segregation. The government says that zeniths are less than human, that they should be feared and need to be controlled. This is not true, and it is this mentality that breeds hate and discrimination. I pause a moment, considering my next words. However, if all zeniths can be taught control over their abilities, and humans taught that zeniths can be trusted, then the mistreatment could end. It could— Scarlet. Kira raises her hand. You're drifting off topic. Sorry. I focus less on zenith mistreatment and more on how a safer world can be accomplished. Right now, zeniths face two choices: live a life of limited rights, or join the military. For many, none of these paths are ideal. If zeniths, at a young age, could be allowed and encouraged to master their powers, most of them could pursue a variety of careers. Some could become performers or builders. Others could manage banks. With the proper training, zeniths would be as safe as humans. They should be treated as humans. Scarlet, says Kira, interrupting again. Focus more on why zeniths should be regulated, not how the regulation should be different. I try to refocus. This isn't going well. My hands are starting to sweat, and I wipe them on my robes. As I said, without training, zeniths can be dangerous. But so can humans. We must all be taught what is right and wrong. There is no reason why zeniths and humans must have different laws. Scarlet, says Kira, what's your topic? Why zeniths must be regulated? So let's get back to that. Why must zeniths be regulated more than humans? I frown, facing her instead of the initiates. They don't have to be. Zeniths can be regulated just as much as humans. She makes a clicking noise with her tongue. Not quite your topic. Why not? The topic was why zeniths have to be regulated. I'm arguing that zeniths and humans must both be regulated equally. Argue why they shouldn't be equal. I shake my head. I won't do that. I'm your teacher. I'm telling you to do it. I won't. Kira yells, pointing at me. How can you hope to convince someone else to see your point of view if you can't see theirs? I yell back. I do see their point of view. Then argue for it. Convince me. I slam my fist on the podium. No! I don't know if my answer is right, but I know unequal regulation is wrong. Whispers spread through the classroom. Garen and Bart chuckle. Kira snaps at them. Do not mock her. Learn from her. Scarlet demonstrates something you have all failed to show. I stifle a gasp, startled that Kira would defend me. Garen and Bart bow their heads and mumble apologies. Kira turns to me and nods, and I feel like perhaps I was doing well all along. Perhaps she was challenging me to think of my topic in new ways. The seeker begins to pace around the classroom, studying everyone's face. You have all spoken on behalf of an idea today. How many of you truly believed in your own argument? I'm the only one who raises my hand. Some drop their eyes as Kira passes. After she has walked around the classroom, she stops before the board and gestures at me. Scarlet did not compromise her ideals. She did not give voice to what she thinks is lies. If you ever become knights, I hope you are not as easily swayed as you were today. Yaden raises his hand, and Kira motions for him to speak.
But don't we have to listen to our superiors?
He asks. Why?
Because we have to.
Did you have to come here, Yaden? He grins with charm.
A prince has responsibilities.
And you have to fulfill them?
Of course.
Why?
Because. Okay.
He nods, understandingly.
I suppose I didn't have to come here.
Kira smiles. Do not blindly follow orders. Ask why and ponder. She glances at me. Ask why and ponder. And she begins to pace again, but this time there is real passion behind her voice. There have been many leaders who would weave words to convince others. I will not mention them all, for you know what they have done. Saved their countries, liberated slaves, killed thousands because they were different. They did not succeed because they were strong. They succeeded because they could inspire, and because they could not be dissuaded. So learn to master language and debate, and do not fall prey to its silver tongue. She begins to type into her tablet, and the word ethics appears on the e-screen. She points at it. But then, of course, who do we follow? Who is right? Who is wrong? She pauses, letting the question sink in. Everyone is focused on her. And so, we arrive at our first lesson. Everyone is the hero of their own story. Everyone believes their way is right. The e-screen fills with more of her ideas as she types and we take notes. And I develop a genuine respect for Kira, and a better understanding of why Jax would have been attracted to her. I might learn something from the Seeker after all. Chapter 11. The Whipping. I've been trying all day not to think of Jax or what he's about to endure tonight. He swore me to secrecy, so I can't even tell my friends. No one's supposed to know who's being whipped until it happens. I think this place likes to keep secrets just for the sake of keeping them half the time. As we leave Order and walk to dinner, I look for something to distract my increasingly anxious thoughts. We pass the courtyard on our way to the dining hall, and I see Kira training with her sword, doing katas I recognize from Jax. What do you know about her? I ask, looking at Kira. She's an enigma to me still.
She's an orphan, Wit says. She was raised here and is bloody focused on her training.
It's all she really has, Corinne says. It's kind of sad. I'm melancholy as we go through the line to get our food. I sit with them, picking at another uneaten salad as I sip my life force. I have to do a better job at eating human food or my friends will start to worry. My mind is wandering when Wit nudges me.
You look distant. What's going on in that beautiful head of yours?
Kai is also looking at me from across the table, a small frown on his face. I'm just thinking about stuff. I'm not feeling well. Tired, I think. I stand and pick up my tray. I think I'm going to get some rest before tonight. I'll meet you all later. Do you want me to come with you? Corinne asks. No, I'm good. I'll see you soon. I head to my room as quickly as I can and collapse on my bed. Nox jumps onto my chest and curls into a warm, purring ball of fur. I close my eyes, squeezing out a renegade tear. I don't want to see Jax whipped tonight. But I don't want him to go through that punishment without my support, either. This makes me sick, that we do this to each other, that these kinds of punishments even exist. There's a knock at my door, and I groan. Scarlett's not here right now. The door opens and my grandfather comes in, closing it behind him.
Then she won't mind if an old man rests in her room for a moment.
I sit up and move the reluctant cat to my lap, while my grandfather sits in the chair at my desk. No, she won't, I say.
Jack said he told you about tonight,
he says. Knox jumps off my lap and onto my grandfather's, who pets him. Yes.
Are you all right?
No, it's not right, what they're doing to him. He nods.
You're right, it's not. But it will help Jax.
How so?
Right now, he's the knight who went rogue. He didn't have authorization to hunt down Apex. And as awful as it is, many in our orders benefited from the work Apex did.
I'm about to get very vocal on that topic when my grandfather holds up his hand.
I'm as appalled as you by the trafficking of zeniths. That doesn't change the fact that many in high positions of power feel differently. And they watched a high-ranking knight destroy something they helped build, without penalty. Tonight, he will be the knight who faced the consequences of his choices with bravery. It will help him in his career. It will appease those who are angry at what he's done, and it will allow Jax to continue his climb to the top. He will be fine. He's more worried about you than himself.
I sigh and flop back on my bed. Sometimes I wonder if I'm meant for this world.
I think we all feel that way from time to time.
He stands.
Shall we go? I think he'd like you to be there for him.
I stand. I suppose I should. Knox rubs himself against my grandfather's leg.
He's a good cat, but this might not be the best place for him. Cooped up in this room all day.
You're probably right, I say, leaning over to pet his head before we leave. Perhaps he's not meant for this world either. When I arrive at the courtyard, it's already teeming with excitement. It makes me sick that people take such perverse joy from seeing others hurt. My grandfather nods to me and leaves to stand at the front, where a whipping post has been erected. Large e-screens have been placed to hover over us, broadcasting everything live as a team of order reporters cover the story. The council members are standing in a semicircle behind the post, as Jax is escorted out by an Inquisition officer. He's got a robe on, which he drops to the floor. He's wearing only a pair of jeans, and his muscles flex as the officer ties his arms to the post. His eyes search the crowd, and when he finds me, I hold his gaze, willing myself not to avert my eyes no matter what happens. He gives me a small smile, and I try to smile back. I'm here, Jax. I feel a hand on my arm, and Corinne and Whit flank me.
You knew?
Corinne asks. I nod without breaking eye contact with Jax. She slips a hand into mine, and Whit takes my other hand. Their support means so much. I'm not alone in this. Jax isn't alone in this. There's so much noise. From the people, from the television, from the reporters. I want to scream at everyone to shut up. Instead, I tune them out and just connect with my best friend. Ragathon steps up with a whip in hand. I hate him. So much. He's enjoying this, and that makes my blood boil. I want to unleash my wings and fly up to him and... I squeeze Whit and Corinne's hands and take a deep breath. I promised Jax I wouldn't do anything stupid. And I won't. When the first lash lands on his back, splitting his skin, tearing through tissue, I sway from sudden dizziness. Jax doesn't scream. He doesn't cry. He just keeps looking at me. And so I don't cry or scream either. If he can be strong, so can I. Another lash of the whip. More blood. More pain. The cameras zoom in on his back, and I feel vomit rise in my throat. On one of the screens, the image breaks into two as they continue the live coverage while showing Jax fighting Apex. I'm there, beside him, as Nightfall. When that scene finishes, the E-screen reverts to the live feed of Jax being whipped. Ragathon seems to be getting angrier and angrier as he whips Jax, his punishment more cruel with each lash. I think he wants Jax to give in, to cry, to scream, to acknowledge the pain, to give Ragathon that sense of power. But he doesn't. It's becoming too much. I have to stop it. I break eye contact to look at my grandfather. But it isn't the Chancellor who steps in. It's Master Varian who rips the whip from his brother's hand. Ragathon looks ready to murder him. But Varian announces that Jax has accepted his punishment with the bravery of a true knight. I hear respect in his words. Admiration. I can finally breathe again as they untie Jax. With his first step, he stumbles, his back in shreds. Grandmaster Marion offers to help him walk, but he shakes his head and takes another step, his legs shaking, then bows to the council. Varian nods his head at Jax, and Jax walks behind the council and toward the infirmary with Marion at his side. Once he disappears from view, Corinne turns to me, her face streaming with tears. Are you okay? I stare into the space where Jax was. I'm not the one who was just whipped. I need to get to Jax, but the crowd is too thick. I can't clear a path to get through. Kai moves to my side and puts his arm around me.
I'll handle the crowd. Follow me.
So I do. Once Kai gets us clear, I break into a jog and head toward the infirmary. Master Varian is leaving the infirmary as I enter. He nods his head to me.
Miss Knight.
I walk past him and straight to Jax, who's already bandaged up and standing, ready to leave. He smiles when he sees me.
I'm glad you're here,
he says. He puts a robe over his shoulders, wincing only slightly, and Grandmaster Marion frowns. Keep the bandages clean, and come by if it gets worse, but you should heal quickly with the medicine I gave you.
I'm fine, Marion.
She huffs, and he chuckles as he puts an arm over my shoulder.
Let's take a walk,
he says. Are you sure? He nods.
I'm fine, honestly. It looks worse than it is.
I don't believe that, but if he's up for walking, I'll walk with him. We leave the castle grounds and head toward the shoreline, and the sky opens up once again, showering us with rain. Do you want to go back in? I ask.
No, I like the rain. It's cleansing. Healing.
He stops and pulls me to face him.
I need to tell you something.
I look up at his handsome face, a face I've had memorized since my earliest memories. My heart feels tight, and I reach up and touch his cheek. What is it?
Scarlet.
His eyes look haunted. Sad.
I'm glad for last night. For what I was able to share with you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being there for me always, even when you didn't know the truth.
More tears threaten to spill. We've always been connected, I tell him. I didn't have to know all the details to know we were kindred.
So you're no longer mad at me for all the lies? All the secrets?
I shake my head. How can I ever stay mad at you? Something shifts on his face, and he looks tortured by a decision he must make. Jax?
Star. My star.
He leans in and presses his lips against mine. They are hot, soft, then firm, familiar, and new all at once. I'm frozen in place for a moment, stunned by this shift in the story for us. But my body takes over soon enough. The love I have always felt for him, the sole connection we have shared since childhood, replaces any fear, any doubt, any hesitancy. I kiss him back, moving closer so our bodies connect as his hands cup my face and mine land on his chest. His kiss deepens and unlocks more emotion than I thought I could contain. When it ends, I feel filled and emptied all at once. I look up at him again, wondering what this means. This kiss has undone and remade our entire history and future. I'm breathless as I stare into his deep blue eyes, the gentle rain still falling on us. Jax? His eyes are sad.
Star, I shouldn't have done that. It wasn't fair.
I don't know what to say. I don't know how I feel yet, so I remain silent, knowing he has more to tell me. He caresses my cheek, his fingers wiping away the rain.
I have always loved you,
he says softly.
First as a friend, then as family, and then as more. But there was so much I couldn't tell you. So many parts of me I couldn't share. Now, you know, if not all, then most. You know the important things.
I know your heart, Jackson Lux. I place my hand over his chest, feeling the strong beat of his heart beneath the wet cloak. I've always known your heart. That's all I need to know. My words seem to crush him, though I don't understand why.
It was selfish of me to kiss you,
he says.
To tell you my feelings now, of all times.
I cock my head, confused. Why?
Because I'm leaving.
He releases a deep sigh and steps back, his hand dropping from my face. My cheek feels cold where he touched it, now that his warmth is gone. My throat is choked with tears when I ask, "Where are you going?"
I can't tell you.
His eyes beg me to understand. More secrets. I feel empty.
That's why this was selfish. I can never give you all of me. The orders will always hold their piece of me close. My life will never be completely mine.
But your heart is, I say. You can do with that what you wish.
And my heart, it is always yours. But I can't ask you to wait. I don't know when I'll be back, or what my life will be when I do return.
I nod, understanding even as my heart breaks a little. The kiss was a false promise of what can never be, at least not in this world, in this reality. And I have my own secrets, my own reasons why this could never work, no matter how much my soul wants it to. He reaches for my hand and brings it to his lips, kissing my knuckles softly.
I'm sorry.
And then he is gone, and I am standing in the rain alone. Chapter 12. Raising a Cat. I stand on the shore, the rain splashing against the water, creating ripples under moonbeams. My lips still feel the heat of his kiss. My heart still feels the pain of his departure. There exists a parallel world in which Jax and I are the people we thought ourselves to be as children. We are plebes who grow up together, who join a domus together, who change the world together. We maybe marry, have children, share all our thoughts with one another. In this world, I can give Jax not just my heart, but my secrets. In this world, I wear no masks. I live no second lives. I am just Scarlet. He is just Jax. We are together. I bend down and search for a small rock, cupping it in my palm. It is smooth, symmetrical. I throw it into the water, trying to skip it, but I throw too hard and it sinks. I don't know how long I stand there, the sky pouring itself over me as I let my heart break. I don't know if I cry or if the water running down my face is still just rain. I do know that we can't stay in the shadows of mourning and pain forever. And so I turn away from the water, from the pain, from the promises of lives never meant to be, and I walk back to my room. If I'm going to be Nightfall, if I'm going to give up my own happiness to save this world, then I have work to do. I need to see Zoran, to train, to tire my muscles so my mind stops thinking, to push my body so my heart doesn't distract me. Plus, I have a gift for him. That thought makes me smile. Corinne is sitting cross-legged on her bed, sketching in a notebook when I come in. There's a fire ablaze in our hearth, warming the room and casting shadows of fire against the walls. She looks up and gives me a half smile. "Hey, you okay? I saw you walking with Jax." She sets her sketches to the side, and I see Knox as her subject. She captured his wide-eyed, bedraggled look perfectly. I nod and peel off my wet clothing, tossing them in the laundry for Agatha. I grab a towel and dry myself before pulling out jeans and a sweater. Corinne is silent, watching me with wise eyes as I drop onto my bed and pull Knox, who's already purring and nudging his head against my hand, onto my lap. "How's he doing?" she asks. "Physically, fine," I say. "Have you ever been in a serious relationship before?" I ask. She shakes her head. "Being the crown princess, I have to be careful with whom I get serious. It's not just my happiness on the line, but the fate of my country." "Right. That must be hard." She shrugs. "I guess. But I also haven't found anyone I really love, either. Let's just hope the person I end up falling in love with is also good for Sapientia." "What will you do if they're not?" She stares past me, her purple eyes lost in thought. "I don't know, to be honest." Then her eyes snap back to me, and she leans forward. "Did something happen with Jax?" I hesitate. I'm not used to having a friend other than Jax. Not since the twins. It's strange, but I kind of like it. She scoots forward, her eyes widening. "It did! What happened?" "We sort of kissed. Kind of." "Kind of?" "Not kind of. We kissed. And then he told me he's leaving." She frowns. "I'm sorry. Did you know he felt that way about you?" I shrug. Jax and I have always had a special connection, but I hadn't really thought about it romantically until tonight. She raises an eyebrow. "Really? Because you two seem intimate. I'm pretty sure everyone here thinks you're together." That's news to me. "No, not together. I don't think it would ever work between us. For so many reasons." She doesn't pry, which I appreciate. She understands complicated. She understands duty. She more than most understands sometimes love isn't enough. The princess sighs. "Well, this night's gone all to pot, hasn't it? Want to go out and drown our sorrows? We can invite Wit, or just make it a girls' night." I smile at her, so grateful I have these friendships. "Thank you, but I think I need some time alone. And I hold up Knox. I have to drop this guy off at a friend's house. My grandfather suggested this isn't the best place for a cat." "I understand, but I'm going to miss our little pet." She walks over to rub his head and he purrs into her hand. "If you need me, just holler." She sinks back into her bed, picks up her sketchbook and resumes her sketching, but then looks up, a lock of now green hair falling into her eyes. "Oh, speaking of Jax, he left you another note."
It's on your desk.
I nudge Knox off of me and pick up the paper airplane sitting on my books. I open it and read.
No matter where I am, I'm always thinking of you. Friends to the end.
Tears sting my eyes as I wonder where Jax is going and what he will be doing. I tuck the note into my desk drawer, then grab my pack and empty it, making a little bed for Knox to curl into during our travels. He eyes it skeptically, but when I lure him with a bit of food, he's happy enough to tuck in. I zip the bag halfway. I'm at the door, ready to leave, when Corinne speaks.
Scarlett?
I look over at her, and she smiles.
I meant it. Holler if you need a friend. You're not alone in all this.
I love New York City at night. Multicolored glowing orbs dot the sidewalks, casting shadows of light along the path as I walk. Genetically modified trees stretch over me with iridescent flowers that occasionally twinkle in the darkness. It's no surprise that so many couples enjoy walking hand in hand along the city streets when the sun goes down. It's also why I decided to take the subway into the city instead of flying straight to the cathedral from the castle. I need this time to pause, reflect, breathe. I pull Knox out of my backpack and hold him, stroking his soft black fur as I walk. He nuzzles into my arms, content to be treated like the royalty he surely imagines himself to be. I'll miss seeing him in my room, but I know he'll have a lot more freedom at the cathedral. And Zoran needs a pet, even if he doesn't know it yet. The walk through the city settles me, and after a while I find a private place to unleash my wings and head to the cathedral in search of Zoran. I arrive on the outskirts of the property and change into my Nightfall armor, then fly over the gates and into the little town that is unfolding more and more each day. It's mostly quiet this late, as many of our residents must be up early to tend to new crops and continue the construction and maintenance. I enter the cathedral and head to Zoran's room. I find him sitting by the fireplace, playing chess against himself. He looks up and smiles as I come in.
I thought you had homework.
I do. I can only stay for a few hours. But I brought you a present. I pull Knox out of my bag. Zoran raises an eyebrow.
A cat?
I pass him the restless feline. His name is Knox. He needs a good home, and my room at the castle is too small.
We're raising a cat together now?
I smile. Yes, so don't eat him. Zoran chuckles.
I make no promises.
The cat purrs and rubs against Zoran's hand, demanding to be petted. The Nephilim obliges, running long fingers over the cat's fur. I can tell they will be great friends. Carter knocks on the door and peeks in.
May I have a moment of your time, miss?
Of course. He walks in and offers me a life force. He also passes me a small golden box. I flick it open, revealing a key and paper.
Your apartment is set up, he says. The address is in the box. All has been arranged.
Is it safe to take my friends there? They want to see it.
I think you'll find that the accommodations meet your approval.
Zoran gestures to Knox.
Can you set up some food and water for our new Dark Templar?
I grin as Carter nods.
As you wish.
Carter leaves, clicking the door closed behind him, and Zoran pets the cat as he stares at the fire.
Want to play a game?
Zoran asks, looking at the chess game. Not really.
Want to practice the way of Nyx?
No. He leans back in his chair, sipping from a golden goblet.
You're quieter than usual. I saw the news of the whipping. Do you want to talk about it?
No. Yes. I don't know. I look at him. Why are men so complicated? Why do they have to make everything so hard? Zoran chuckles.
And women are so easy?
Jax kissed me tonight. Told me he loved me. Then told me he's leaving. And of course, he doesn't know I'm his enemy. Something flickers on Zoran's face, but is gone before I can figure it out.
Some people are not meant to be together, no matter how hard they try.
He stares into the fire.
I once knew a man who loved a woman. He was an Nephilim, and she was sick. She didn't look sick, but she was. And on their wedding day, she died.
What happened? I ask.
Back then, we had no explanation. Now, we'd call it a brain aneurysm or a stroke.
He looks troubled.
The man turned his wife to save her, and they lived together for a while, but it did not last. She died too young. Even immortality couldn't save her.
How'd she die? Zoran gazes at the fire, his face filling with rage.
They burned her. The Inquisition deemed her guilty of witchcraft, and there was no defense. She did not cry at the end. She did not beg. She looked happy. She told the man who loved her to live on. But how could he?
Zoran drops his head, tears welling in his eyes.
How could he?
I touch his shoulder. What was her name? He glances up, eyes red.
Who?
Your wife.
Danica.
He whispers.
Her name was Danica Starr.
Chapter 13. The Fairy Realm. Evie, I mumble, reaching for my e-glass. I slip it over my ear, my head still buried under the blanket, eyes closed. Evie. Good morning, Scarlet. Morning. What time is it? I can hear Corinne in the bathroom humming a song. She's so chipper in the morning. It would be annoying if she wasn't so sweet. It's 4:30 a.m. You should get up if you don't want to be late for PT. Evie also sounds chipper. Evie, it's too early for you to sound so happy. Tone it down. As you wish, Scarlet. Yeah, that's not much better. I groan and sit up, stretching my tired body. Corinne comes out of the bathroom, showered and ready for class. Morning, sleepyhead, she says. Good morning. You have a lovely voice. Her smile is sad. Thanks. It's a song my mother used to sing us when we were little. Corinne sits on her bed and faces me as she puts on her sneakers. It's one of the only memories I have of her. What happened? She died when I was really young. From illness. I'm so sorry. I wonder what's worse, having a lifetime of memories to miss, or not knowing your mother at all. I wouldn't trade the time I had with my parents for anything, but it hurts that they are gone when they were so much a part of my daily life. Something stirs my memory, and I click through my e-glass calendar. This Friday. It's their anniversary. They always made that day special, and when I was older they included me in their celebrations. We'd get a boat and spend the day at the lake. Then at night they would light a Chinese lantern and send it off into the water. They said it was to commemorate another year of spending their lives with their soulmate. I slip on my workout gear and head to the bathroom to brush my teeth and get ready. My mouth is full of toothpaste when Evie relays messages from the Dark Templars. Trix says another rebel group has agreed to meet with you on Saturday. I rinse my mouth out and ask, which one? The Gravekeepers, she says. Which one are they? They are committed to avenging those who died during the war. Tell Trix I got her message and we'll be there. Corinne is waiting for me when I come out of the bathroom. She has 2 cups of steaming coffee in hand, and I take one. Agatha was here? She nods. Came and went. Asked why half your clothing was soaked. I chuckle. What did you tell her? That you like playing in the rain.
She mumbled something about her impossible patricians and left.
I sucked down the coffee as fast as I can, burning my tongue in the process, as we head to PT together.
"How are you feeling?" she asks. "I didn't hear you come in last night. It must have been late."
"I think I got an hour of sleep," I confess. "You're going to be hurting today." She's not wrong. In fact, I spend the rest of the day hurting and falling asleep during classes. By the time Friday arrives, I'm more than ready for the weekend. And some sleep. Teutonic Knights. They were formed at the end of the 12th century in Acre. They moved to Transylvania in 1211. They were expelled by someone. Hard to remember when I keep dozing off. Evie is recording the whole lecture. I'll listen to it later in bed, in comfy pajamas. I nudge Corinne, yawning. "Why don't they just give us a textbook?" "We've practiced nothing." She keeps her eyes on the Grandmaster.
"You can't ask a textbook questions."
She raises her hand and is called on. "Grandmaster Gabriella, what's the German motto of the order?" Gabriella smiles, looking pleased to finally receive a question. "Helfen, wehren, heilen. Help, defend, heal."
"Thank you, Grandmaster,"
says Corinne. As the lecture is resumed, she whispers to me,
"Who are you going as for the Halloween ball?"
It's a long time from Halloween, but this seems important to Corinne, so I try to come up with something.
"Someone important. Someone who made a difference."
She raises an eyebrow.
"Anything more specific?"
"Not yet, but I'm open to ideas." She beams, clearly excited to be part of my decisions.
"I'll message you some later. If you decide soon, we can coordinate our styles."
Sounds fun. But not as fun as sleeping for 2 days. Nothing sounds as fun as sleeping for 2 days. "Corinne, Scarlet," says the Grandmaster, frowning. "Would you like to share your discussion with us?" Oh no. I sit up straight, trying to look as awake as possible. All eyes turn to us, and Corinne turns red. I started this conversation, and I don't want my friend to get in trouble, so I speak up. "We were just saying how we'd like to go as famous Teutonic Knights for Halloween. We'd feel so honored." Gabriella's frown fades. "Very well, but don't speak out of turn again." I give her my most serious and noble of faces. "Of course, Grandmaster." We stay focused for the rest of the class, but Corinne does spare a moment to tap something out on her e-glass. I receive the message.
"Thank you, Scarlet."
When history is over and Gabriella has left the room, initiates erupt in cheers.
"First week is over, ladies,"
says Wit, throwing his arms around us.
"We need to celebrate."
"What do you have in mind?" I ask, though this goes against my sleep plans.
"Let's head into the city."
Corinne does her "why not" look, while Wit gives me puppy eyes. "Let's do it," I say, feeling more energized because of my friends. Wit waves across the room at his brother.
"Kai, why don't you join us?"
The Prince of Ravens surprises me with a grin.
"I suppose someone has to keep you lot out of trouble."
The irony is not lost on me that I'm the one with mythology-inspired vampiric powers, but my friends are the ones who need no sleep and can go all night. I would have slept from the end of history class until my meeting with the other rebel leaders tomorrow, but instead I spend the day shopping. Now I'm eating falafel at a Greek cafe in the city with Wit, Corinne, and Kai. Well, I'm mostly picking at it and pretending to eat. I miss liking food. Wit is telling another story, something about ancient Greece and the theater and Dionysus, and Corinne is listening as she dips a carrot into the hummus. I eye the hummus. My brain says I should still like it, but my body disagrees vehemently. Kai pulls a small paper bag out of his backpack and hands it to me. "What's this?" I ask.
Your dinner.
Curious, I open it and find a bag of marshmallows, a chocolate bar, and Life Force. I look up in surprise. How did you know these things are my favorite? He rolls his eyes.
It's not that hard to figure out if you pay attention.
So you've been paying attention to my eating habits? I ask, stuffing a marshmallow into my mouth.
Someone has to. Should I be worried?
I chew and swallow. About what?
About you. You don't eat much, but you're training pretty hard. I know what grief can do to a person. Starving yourself isn't going to help.
I would laugh, but he's so serious and so sincere that I can't. It's true my appetite has been finicky since my parents died, but I assure you I'm healthier physically than I've ever been. The true threat to my health isn't lack of food, but lack of sleep. A girl needs her beauty rest. I say this last part in jest, but he cocks his head and stares at me, a serious expression on his face.
You're beautiful enough without it.
I've just stuck a piece of chocolate in my mouth, and I almost spit it out in surprise. I'm spared from a response when Wit stands, claps his hands, and declares,
It's time to drink and be merry, since we've already done the eating part. For tomorrow we might die. And as everyone knows, it's best to die with a stomach full of ale, bread, and happiness.
His words send a shiver through my spine, but I shrug it off. It's just an expression, not an omen. I hope. Corinne stands and grabs her sketchbook. And why are we dying tomorrow? Wit shrugs.
Because it gives us an excuse to eat, drink, and be merry?
I laugh and stand, grabbing my pack, which is now stuffed with new clothes I don't really need, but Corinne insisted would look brilliant on me. In her defense, she's right. They do, especially the cardigan I'm wearing now, silver with ultraviolet blue thread that glimmers and glows under certain light. It's made from a hybrid material that makes it soft but durable, and conforms to my body almost like a living thing. An Eden Fashionable, a brand I've never owned until today. Wit seems to know where he's going, so we all follow him. I'm pretty sure he has his e-glass set to find all the bars everywhere all the time. Must be a poet thing. Which I find odd, because in my, admittedly limited, drinking experience, alcohol does not improve one's ability to use words. We walk for over an hour, passing many pubs, bars, and clubs on the way. Corinne has given up on trying to draw and walk at the same time, after bumping into a few fairy fruit trees and getting the sticky, glowing fruit all over her sketch pad. That stuff never comes off. Kai is quiet as we walk, but I catch his eyes on me often, and I wonder what he's thinking. When Wit finally stops in front of a bar, I'm not impressed. From the looks on their faces, neither is anyone else. We are in a sketchy neighborhood, to start. Abandoned buildings surround us, and cars covered in graffiti line the street. I clutch my pack tighter and wonder if I need to be in Nightfall mode. The door to the club is unmarked, unless you count gang signs scrawled on it in spray paint. Wit. Corinne looks around like we're about to be attacked by thugs. Which, honestly, we might. This place is dodgy.
Fear not, fellow travelers. I know what I'm doing.
He knocks on the door, and a peephole opens. A voice on the other side of the door says,
A knight in red must surrender. To a fairy by another name,
Wit says. I raise a questioning eyebrow at Kai, who shrugs as the door opens and we enter another world. Wit raises his arms and grins.
Welcome to the fairy realm, the most exclusive secret club in New York City.
We all stand in stunned silence as we look around. It really is like stepping into a fairy realm. It's dark, but everything is aglow in light. Giant mushrooms grow from the ground and glow purple, pink, and green. Fairy fruit trees also grow everywhere, the fruit and leaves brightly shining. There's dancing in the center and a long bar to the right with drinks I've never seen before. We walk over, and Whit orders for everyone.
"Give us the sampler platter,"
he says. "What's the sampler platter?" I ask. He winks at me and throws an arm over my shoulder.
"You'll soon see."
We find a table that's been roped off from the rest, and Whit pulls aside the rope and pulls a chair out for Corinne and me.
"Ladies?"
"Isn't this reserved for someone?" she asks.
"Yes," he says, "for us."
When our platter arrives, it's quite impressive. All of the drinks glow in different colors and have living edible fruit flowers growing out of them. I take a purple and pink concoction and use my tongue to tease out the flavors before I commit. The flowers taste like candy, and I drink it up greedily. "This is the most amazing thing ever," I say, already feeling a small buzz. A live band performs on a stage covered in living vines and more trees and mushrooms, their music pulsing, hypnotic.
"How did you find out about this place?"
Kai asks as he sips his drink. Whit grins.
"I have my ways, brother."
"Don't we need to show ID to prove we're at least 18 and legal drinking age?" I ask. Whit waves a hand at me.
"Already handled."
He downs his drink in one gulp and stands, tugging on his sport coat.
"And now, the ladies await."
He walks to the dance floor and has 2 girls dancing with him before he makes it all the way there. Incredible! "Your brother is certainly a ladies' man," I say to Kai. Kai smiles.
"He is, but some of us prefer one over many."
Corinne finishes her drink, her cheeks already pink, and she grins.
"I think I'm falling in love with this place,"
she says. The music stops as the band leader takes the microphone.
"We've just been informed that Princess Corinne of the House of Ravens is in the house."
The crowd cheers, and Corinne looks up in surprise.
"We're also told she has a beautiful singing voice. Who wants the princess to come sing for us?"
Again the crowd erupts in cheers, and they split down the middle to give Corinne access to the stage. The lead singer, a tall man dressed like an elf, smiles and holds out a hand.
"What do you say, princess? Care to share your music with us?"
She shrugs and stands.
"Sure."
More clapping as she walks to the stage and takes the microphone, whispering to the band. We are served another round of drinks, and against my better judgment, I drink one more. Kai chuckles.
"I guess we found a new favorite to add to your short list."
I nibble at the flower and smile. Guess so. The warmth from the alcohol makes its way into my blood, and it feels good. He leans back, his purple eyes amused.
"I'm guessing you've never been drunk?"
I sit up straighter to compensate for what feels like weightlessness. "I have been. My parents actually got me drunk once and did a training exercise with me when I was 16. They wanted me to know what it felt like to think and work while under the influence."
"Your parents sound interesting."
They were. A new song starts, and Corinne begins singing. She's amazing. Her shower humming was nothing on her live performance. She owns the crowd, the stage, everything, with a haunting melody in another language. Kai grows still as he watches his sister.
"I'm surprised she remembers that song."
"It's the one your mom sang?" He looks at me in surprise.
"Yes."
"Were you very close to her before she died?"
"I was, yes. Very."
I reach out on instinct and take his hand. "I'm sorry for your loss, too."
"Thanks."
"Can I ask, what happened with you and your father? Why aren't you the crown prince, being the oldest?" Our hands are still touching, but I don't pull back.
"He's never liked me. I think it's because..."
His eyes look haunted as he pauses.
"Because I killed my mother."
"What do you mean?" He looks at me.
"I was sick. Really sick. She nursed me back to health, but she got sick too. Only, she didn't recover like I did. It ate away at her until there was nothing left but her shell. She died in her sleep, and my father has never forgiven me.
Kai. He squeezes my hand.
You don't have to say anything. I know you understand.
We are silent for a few moments, listening to Corinne sing the song from his painful past. Everyone has a story. Everyone has pain. It is the shared condition of the human experience that we all hurt. We are all broken. What sets us apart is what we do with that pain. And even if I'm no longer technically human, it's a universal truth that applies across species. He grabs another glass and drinks it in one gulp, then slams it on the table.
As for the crown, I don't care about that.
He looks at Whit, who's now dancing with Lana from our class. They look close.
Of the three of us, he says, she's the best. Whit and I both know it. She will make a great queen and leader of our people. She's smart, brave, kind, and honest.
That's why you're at Castle V, isn't it? To look after them. He glances at me.
Yes, actually. I don't care about being a knight, but I care about them. When my mom died, she made me promise to protect them above all else. I will die before I break that vow.
Whit interrupts as he comes over with Lana on his arm, and my hand slips back into my lap, still warm from Kai's.
Ah, wonderful! More drinks,
Whit says, taking one for himself and handing one to Lana. She smiles, sips it, then looks around. I need to use the bathroom. Be right back. She kisses Whit on the cheek and scampers off. Kai leans forward and frowns.
Be careful, brother. Everyone knows that girl is after a title. She's only using you for your royal blood.
Whit's grin widens, and he holds up a drink.
Excellent, because I'm only after those lips.
We're all a bit tipsy as we leave the club and head to my apartment. I'd already looked up the directions so I wouldn't look like a fool when I took my friends there. But it's late. I'm tired. I've been drinking, and New York is a big place. So after turning the wrong corner and heading in the opposite direction, I stop, stumble into a fruit fairy tree, and try to focus my brain. Kai nudges my arm.
You do know where you live, right?
I narrow my eyes at him. Yes, but I'm still new here. Scarlet, Evie says into my ear, do you need help finding the apartment? Yes! Kai looks at me.
Yes, what?
Nothing, I say, as my AI and most favorite non-person ever rescues me from myself and talks me through the directions. I'm getting more and more nervous as we near the building. It's an impressive-looking complex in the heart of Tribeca, an artsy and very upscale neighborhood. Since I'm the only one here who grew up plebe, this probably impresses me a lot more than it does the royal and the rich, but even they look sufficiently pleased with the neighborhood. I love shopping around here, says Lana, as she hangs on Whit's arm. They have the best of everything. I nod as if I know or care about the best of everything. As we approach the complex, a doorman in uniform opens the door for us. He's an older gentleman, with a tailored look and kind eyes.
Good evening, Miss Knight. It's nice to see you again.
I cover the shock I feel with a smile. Good evening. Thank you. He casually taps his name badge, and I realize he must be in the employment of Zoran or Carter. Jaspin, thank you, I say. These are my friends. We take the elevator to the penthouse apartment, which requires a special key, and we step directly into my apartment. If having a doorman I've never seen recognize me was a shock, seeing my apartment is triply so. It's decorated exactly as I would have decorated if I'd had time and money to do so, with brightly colored accents and deep, overstuffed furniture. There are books lining the walls, and a few really beautiful framed photographs of aerial shots of Montana. There's even a portrait of me with my parents hanging on the wall. It stuns me to see them,
in color. All of us together. I choke back tears and stare too long. The alcohol in my system makes it harder to mask emotion, to stay calm and centered. It's all bubbling up inside me like a pot set to overflow. Kai stands behind me and places a hand on my shoulder.
They look like good people. I'm sorry.
I turn to look at him, because I can't look at the picture anymore. They were. I miss them. He nods.
I miss my mother even still. Time doesn't heal all wounds, but it does make them easier to bear.
A pillow hits the back of my head, and I turn and see Whit grinning like a drunken fool.
Got any booze in this swanky place?
I laugh and head to the kitchen. I can't remember. Let me check. Though it's not going to involve any fairy magic. I can still feel those drinks in me, and I'm convinced it's not just alcohol that's making the world so Monet-like and super emotional. Corinne tugs at my hand. First, show us around! Oh, sure. Okay. We walk through the apartment, which doesn't take too long. The suite boasts a large gourmet kitchen and spacious living room with a fireplace, and a beautiful bedroom with just the right amount of lived-in mess. A few clothes in my size and style are tossed to the side of the bed, and a hairbrush with strands of what looks like my hair sits on the dresser. It's all kind of creepy and incredibly detailed. There's a spare room that's been converted into a study and 2 washrooms, one in my room and one for the guests. We go back to the kitchen, and I find some expensive bottles of wine and glasses. With drinks in hand, we walk onto the large balcony overlooking the city. The lights blink at us from a distance, and everything sparkles. The world is so beautiful sometimes. It's only up close that the ugly shows. Whit sinks into one of the lounge chairs, pulling Lana to his lap. Corinne takes a seat next to them, but Kai stands by me as we sip our wine. I kind of love my apartment, as it turns out, and might have to find time to visit it for real. We spend the rest of the evening talking about our childhoods and comparing stories. I'm amazed at the differences in our childhoods. They've led lives of expectation and privilege, but also with no privacy or freedom. For the first time, I'm glad my parents kept me from the orders for as long as they did. Being a plebe wasn't so bad, though of course I'm glossing over the despair, the poverty, the lack of food. Being a plebe for me might not have been that bad, but I'm starting to realize that my parents cushioned our low-class life with luxuries most weren't privy to. We leave the city before sunrise, as the deep dusk of night begins to give way to the blush of a new dawn. When we reach Castle V, I excuse myself. I need to get some air before coming to bed. Corinne nods, and Whit sings drunken songs about pirates and princesses. Kai guides his brother back to their shared room. I head around the castle to the water's edge. There's a full moon in the sky, full and glowing with a ring of haze around it. It's my favorite kind of moon. I open my pack and pull out a Chinese lantern I picked up in Chinatown today. I light the candle at its center and stare out into the water and night sky, my throat burning with emotion. Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad, I say to the night, to their souls, to whoever listens to the prayers of orphaned girls. I miss you, and I wish you were here.
Aw, how sweet. The biter lover misses her mommy.
The voice startles my foggy, alcohol-addled mind, and I turn in shock just as something metal slams into my skull and sends my brain bouncing around. I crash to the ground, unable to stop gravity. The lantern's light dies as it rolls away from my outstretched hand. Pain, delayed by disbelief for just a moment, shoots through my head and reverberates down my spine. I try to stand, to raise my head, but they are there, 2 giant figures looming over me, kicking my ribs, punching me, beating me with sticks.
The blows land on me like electric shocks to my nerve endings, igniting a new stream of pain with each hit. I have no moment to breathe, to move, to stand, to try to fight back. Even if I was willing to unleash my Nephilim powers, to release my wings and fly, I'm not sure I can. As the world grows smaller and darkness takes hold of my mind, something shifts around me. They stop punching and kicking. The pain sharpens, deepens, but the beating stops. Someone else is here. Someone who is fighting off both of my attackers. The fight doesn't last long, and they shout, curse, and eventually run away. I try to pull myself up, but arms encircle me.
Move slow. I've got you.
I look up into purple eyes full of worry. Kai. He helps me sit up, and the pain of being vertical sends waves of dizziness through me. Kai sits beside me, holding me as those waves pass and breathing becomes easier.
We need to get you to the infirmary,
he says. How did you know I was here?
I've seen you come out here before to think. Figured this is where you'd come tonight. I had to get Wit tucked in, but then...
Then
I wanted to see you.
I lay my head on his shoulder, mostly because it feels like it's going to fall off if I don't. I'm glad you came. Thanks for... helping. He chuckles, and the movement of his body hurts mine, but I still like the sound.
I'm sure you had it handled. I'm just backup.
Yeah, I had Garen and his goons in their places for sure. You just caught the let them think they're winning by getting beat up phase of my plan.
Of course. Sorry if I stole your thunder.
He holds my hand, and I let him. It's okay. I don't mind sharing the thunder from time to time. I lift my head with Herculean effort and look around me. I had a lantern. I need it back before the sun comes up. Shades of light form in the sky, and an urgency grips me. I need to finish the ritual before tomorrow arrives. Kai moves a bit to reach for something, then settles back next to me. He holds a slightly squished lantern and tries to fix it.
There,
he says, showing me.
I think it'll still float.
Tears burn my eyes. Thank you. I take it from him and light the candle again, then set the lantern in the water. It floats slowly away, heading toward the emerging sunrise, and I say one last prayer for my parents. I hope you're both at peace and together. Now the tears fall as Kai holds my hand and stands watch with me until we can no longer see the lantern in the distance. I look at him, my heart so vulnerable, so broken. I can't keep my walls up anymore. I feel so alone without them. They've always been my lighthouse, guiding me to safety. And without them, I feel adrift at sea. It's scary. He puts a hand over my cheek and wipes away a tear.
You're not alone, Scarlet. You have us now.
He pauses, looking into my eyes.
You have me now.
And then he kisses me, and I don't think about anything else but him and his lips and his arms around me. The sun gently warms the cold earth as he warms something deeper inside of me. Chapter 14. Diamond Mountain. Kai walks me to my room, and we say goodbye. But I can't sleep, can't calm down. Between getting drunk, beaten up, and kissed all in one night, my mind is spinning. I need to sober up and then make a plan. I pull a few life force cans out of my pack and guzzle them. My head begins to clear, my body already healing itself slowly. I'll be fully sober soon enough. And I can't do anything about the kiss tonight, but I can do something about being beaten up. I message Corinne, telling her I'm going back to my apartment for the night. Instead, I head to the cathedral. Evie, tell Zoran I'm on my way and need his help, I say as I launch myself into flight from Vianney. When I arrive and am in my Nightfall gear, I make my way to Zoran's room. He's sitting in a chair in front of a fire, reading. When he sees me, he sets his book down and stands. He takes a few long strides to reach me, and raises a finger to touch the bruises still healing on my jaw.
What happened?
I explain. He opens his hand, and Umbra, his sword, materializes in his grasp.
I'll kill them.
I laugh, pushing his sword arm down. A bit of an overreaction. They're just some bullies at school. Teach me to fight better, without a sword or wings. He nods, letting Umbra evaporate, and messages TR and Trix. We meet in the training pit within the catacombs, rather than the training hall. Zoran sits on a rock as Trix and TR circle me on the sand.
You were unprepared for multiple opponents,
says Zoran, popping a marshmallow into his mouth.
That can't happen again. Never allow yourself to be directly between two attackers.
I shuffle backwards, positioning myself at the edge of the circle, so Trix and TR no longer surround me. They jump to the sides, flanking me once again.
Keep moving,
says Zoran.
Position yourself so they are in a straight line and can't both attack you at once.
I do as he says, moving around Trix and TR. They try to reposition, but they can't get behind me. Not bad, Anne, says Trix, smirking.
Now, says Zoran, let's see how you do in a fight.
Trix lunges forward, kicking at my torso. I evade backwards and counterstrike. She blocks. I'm about to strike again when TR punches me in the back. I forgot to keep moving. I shrug off the blow and try again. I stop striking and focus on my position and defense. I keep TR and Trix in a straight line, and only one of them can attack me at once. It makes blocking much easier. Trix tries another kick. I deflect it. Now, I'm ready to strike. I throw a series of punches, my third managing to hit her chest. She stumbles backwards into TR. He helps her stand. I use their delay to throw a kick at TR's chest. Zoran lands in front of me and blocks.
Fighting 3 or more is harder,
he says, starting to circle me along with TR and Trix.
But the same concept applies. Move in bursts, causing your opponents to change direction. If they're close, they may trip each other. When they're off balance, focus on a single target.
I dash around the arena, trying to keep them in a line. I manage to control TR and Trix, but Zoran maneuvers too quickly. When they strike, I evade, and their blows get in each other's way. TR loses his solid stance, and I kick him behind the knee, knocking him to the ground. Someone grabs my wrist from behind and pulls me to my knees. Zoran. He smiles.
Why are you stopping? Have you won?
I break free and kick him away. We practice late into the night. We end our training near sunrise and depart for our bedrooms. I feel more confident in facing Garen and his friends again. Still, I can't sleep. I walk to the roof, hoping to find Zoran. I find TR instead. He sits on the edge, staring at the horizon while nursing a beer.
You fought well, Nightfall.
I sit beside him. You too. The military trained you well.
Trix and I learned a lot. Too much, maybe. Sometimes the less you know, the happier you are.
I understand. Trix told me she volunteered because of a boy. He raises an eyebrow.
Did she?
Did she mean you? He shakes his head.
She met my brother. Max, Trix, and I grew up together. We were friends. When Trix tested Zenith, we looked out for her. Then we grew older, and Max and Trix became something more. When Max was conscripted, Trix joined to stay with him. They married the day we departed for camp.
There's sadness in his eyes. Max is gone, isn't he? TR nods.
Max, Trix, and I joined near the end of the war. Except it didn't feel like war. We were the cleanup crew, tasked with finding the remaining Nephilim and eliminating them. We did as we were told for a long time. Did a lot of things I wouldn't do now.
I imagine a life of murder. What would that do to a person? What has it done to TR?
One day,
says TR,
we located a Sunrise family. First time I saw Nephilim children. 2 of them. Max refused to kill them. We agreed, but my older brother, he led the argument like he always did, and our commanding officer shot him dead.
I clutched the token of strife around my neck, sharing in his pain. TR continues.
Trix killed the officer, and we deserted. Others left the army too. They saw the slaughter for what it was. We joined up together, bit by bit, until we had an army of our own. Trix was the zenith, so people followed her lead. We decided to attack the Vatican. I'm sure you heard how that ended.
I nod. It ended in defeat. I'm sorry about your brother. I lost my parents recently, and I know the pain doesn't go away.
There's ways to numb it.
He sips his beer.
And who knows, maybe one day the pain will leave forever.
Maybe when I have my revenge. But TR had his, and he doesn't look happy. Is this the path he wants? Why do you fight for the rebels? I ask. He doesn't reply. It's for her, isn't it? I say. You volunteered for Trix. You're still fighting for Trix. He matches my eyes.
She can't know how I feel.
Why not?
Because she loved my brother. I can't take that away from them.
I touch his hand gently. Doesn't Trix deserve to know? Your brother is gone. Maybe both of you are looking for something. Maybe both of you can be happy. They could work. They have no secrets between each other. No politically conflicting life goals to get in the way. If I can't have a future with Jax, at least they should have theirs. He chuckles.
That's what I like about you, Nightfall. You're always searching for a better day. Me, I'm content with where I am.
You shouldn't lie to yourself. He drops his empty beer and stands.
People like us, we all lie to ourselves. It's how we can kill and still sleep at night. It's how we can save those who deserve to be saved.
It's time to meet with the other rebel leaders, and I take a deep breath to calm my nerves. We chose a neutral location, the ruins atop Diamond Mountain. It's only a few hours from the cathedral and was once the meeting place between the Twilight Queen and the Four Orders. It's where the Nephilim War began. Moonlight shines off stone pillars that once made a circle. Now half of them lie crushed in the dust. The center of the mountain is carved into rows of seats like an arena. 5 high podiums rise above them, evenly spaced apart. I stand on one of the podiums, Zoran and Trix at my side. Crixus of the Red Eagles takes the podium to my right, 2 of his black-armored soldiers at his side. His armor is even bulkier, engraved with the pattern of wings, his eagle crest painted over his chest and shoulder plate. Adam, leader of the Sons of Eden, takes the podium to my left. Green robes sway at his feet in the billowing wind. He wears no accessories. He wears no mask. His face is etched with scars and wrinkles, and his gray hair is cropped short. Trix whispers in my ear, "It's said he's never altered his appearance through unnatural means. If you want the Sons of Eden on your side, you must oppose genetic modification." I'm not sure that I do. Corinne has showed me many cures discovered through genetic research, but I don't have to support that research here. Thank you, Trix. Anything you can tell me about the Red Eagles? Nothing new. They attack warehouses, collect weapons. They seem to have no other goal. However, Crixus is named after the gladiator who marched on Rome with an army of slaves. I know. I'm glad he's already contacted me to discuss an alliance, but I don't know what he wants, and that worries me. Smaller groups occupy the remaining 3 podiums. The Gravekeepers, who fight for those unjustly killed in the wars. The Plebes, who oppose royalty. Good thing they don't know my real identity. And the Barons, who seek to hurt the orders. Groups with no names, or names barely known, sit amongst the audience, along with supporters of the largest 5. There are hundreds of all color and age. We are ready. I signal TR, who rings an enormous bell at the center of the mountain. It thunders through the stone and air, quieting all. I speak, my voice amplified and disguised by my e-glass. United we stand. Divided we fall. Since the beginning of man, this has been true. And yet, our world stands divided. Orders and rebels, zeniths and humans, kings and servants, knights and citizens, patricians and plebeians, all vying for power, all vying to rise when others fall. I pause, letting my words sink in. It is time to end the divide. It is time we stand united.
And who will lead us?
Asks Adam.
You?
The crowd echoes his question, anger radiating through them. One does not have to be above many, I respond. People can choose their representatives, and thus the people lead. Adam gestures around.
They've already chosen their representatives. We're here, and we wonder, what do you propose we do?
Unite under one name, one purpose, I say. Show the orders they face not rebels or terrorists striving for power, but people striving for unity.
So you want us to follow this idea of yours. And what will you do for us? What will you do about the experimentation on God's children? The unnatural modification forced upon them?
We'll do what everyone decides is best.
We know what's best,
roars Adam.
Destroy the Hospitallers! Stop their heathen desecration of our people!
The crowd cheers at his words. I'm losing control.
If we are united,
says Crixus, his modified voice calm and soft,
each of our goals will be easier to accomplish. I am interested in Nightfall's proposal.
Adam laughs.
Of course you are. All you care about is more. More guns, more money, more people to serve you.
Arguments erupt between the Red Eagles and Sons of Eden. A brawl breaks out on one side of the mountain. This is why the orders are winning, I yell. This is why.
I'm done listening to this, says Adam. When I saw the video of you and Varian, I thought you had some sense. But you're just another Nephilim who thinks she knows best. We're done with Nephilim. Sons of Eden, we depart. Let the girl play with the eagles. We have matters of worth to attend to.
He leaves the podium, his supporters rushing out of the arena. The smaller groups follow. The Red Eagles alone remain. This is not what I expected, I say. Zoran shakes his head.
You did what you could. Most of them never came here to listen. They came to follow Adam, and Adam came to establish dominance.
I remember my first lesson with Kira. They fall prey to a silver tongue. I ask them to think for themselves, but why would they? For most, following is easier.
But not us,
says Crixus, approaching our podium with 2 soldiers.
For us, to follow something we do not believe is worse than death. You ask the people to believe. You ask them to believe in themselves. But they cannot. They are not ready.
I turn to face him. So what can I do?
Let us speak in private, and I shall tell you.
I nod to Trix and Zoran. It's okay. Crixus gestures his guards away. Trix and Zorin follow them, though I can tell by his rigid jaw Zorin is not pleased. Crixus sighs, sitting on the short stone wall around the podium.
Here is your answer. Give them something else to believe. It is what Adam does.
And what about you?
My soldiers believe in a happy life, and I compensate them very well.
I scowl. So you fight for profit?
I fight for a better world, same as you. This is what you do not understand, Nightfall. Most people are not like us. They are not leaders. They do not seek a better world. But we need them, so we must use them how we can.
His words remind me of Varian. I believe people are more than pawns in a game.
Tell me, Nightfall, are children not pawns? Are parents not kings? Do they not guide their children to a better life?
Until the children are developed enough to make their own choices. He shrugs, his armored suit clanking.
And what is developed enough?
I almost say when a child becomes an adult, but I've known children with more sense than adults. Crixus continues.
Most people are like children. I guide them to a better life. It is my responsibility. Even if they don't like me. Even if they don't listen.
I've never thought about it that way. Are some people truly meant to guide others?
You and I, we must be parents. We must do what is needed.
I lean against the stone wall. And what is that?
Before I tell you, you must tell me something first. How did you make Ragathon stop his forces during the shadow of Rome's escape?
I distracted him.
Really? Did you not order him to stop with your ability?
I flinch. My ability is my greatest weapon in this war. It is my greatest secret. How could he know? I grab his arm, willing him to forget. I feel nothing.
You attempted to order me now, didn't you?
I jump back, drawing my sword.
You have nothing to fear,
he says.
I heard of this gift during the war. It will not work through such thick armor, but it is required for my plan.
I lower my sword, but only slightly. What plan? He picks up a pebble.
The people have a father right now, but he is not like you and I. He is not a good influence.
The Pope? Crixus nods.
We must guide him.
He crushes the pebble in his fist.
We must control him.
Chapter 15. Thane. Crixus refuses to divulge more of his plan until later, but promises to keep in touch. I arrive back at the castle late Sunday night, crawling into bed quietly so I don't disturb Corinne. In my dreams, I'm kissing Jax, and he turns into Kai, and my heart is so very confused. And I can't afford confused right now. Not with everything else going on. But at least those are better than the dreams of all my friends being crushed into dust by a giant fist. I know they'll want to know what happened to me this weekend, and Kai undoubtedly wants to talk. But I oversleep the next morning and am late to PT. I don't know what I feel for Kai, so I'm not ready to talk to him. What I need is some good old-fashioned vengeance, which is what I'm going to get today in combat class. But when Varian shows up with his new assistant by his side, my heart sinks. I hiss in Corinne's ear. "Isn't that Thane? The jerk you grew up with who harassed us at the theater?" She nods, looking equally unhappy. In fact, none of my royal friends look thrilled that Thane will be a new regular in our lives.
I trust you'll give Thane the respect he deserves while he's working with us,
Varian says. I snicker under my breath. I can give him what he deserves. No problem. We might just have different definitions of what that is. When Varian announces he has a meeting and is leaving Thane in charge, I want to ditch class. But I can't, because once free sparring time comes, I pounce. I'd like to do the first duel, I say. Thane sneers at me.
Fine. Who do you challenge?
I look around the class and spot my two assailants. Garen and Bart. Garen and his buddy turn to look at me. Garen with a gloating smile.
Come get it, honey. I'll take you on any day and leave you wishing you'd never come here.
Kai frowns and looks like he's about to stop me, but I shake my head slightly. I need to do this. I'm ready. Thane allows the fight, probably because he wants to see me lose. The two goons come to the middle with me, and we begin. They try to surround me, but I use what Zoran taught me to keep them in a line. I feel my power pouring through my veins, but I don't let it out in a great show like before. I let it trickle into me, giving me an edge of speed, of strength, of faster reflexes. When Garen and Bart run into each other, I kick them in the knees, knocking them both down. While Bart limps off to the side of the sparring circle, I focus my energy on Garen, who stands up, no longer wearing his cocky grin. When I knock him to the ground again, I lean down with my hand on his throat. I lower my voice so only he can hear me. If you ever touch me or my friends again, I will end you. Got it? He doesn't respond, and I press my thumb into his trachea, cutting off airflow. Got it? He nods, his face a vision of hate and loathing as he struggles for breath. I pull away, and he sucks in air. And then something hits me in the back, and I fall into the dirt. I look up to see Thane smiling at me.
And now you're dead, Knight.
Do you always have to rely on surprise attacks from unarmed opponents to win? I glare at him. He tosses me a sword from the rack, and I catch it by the hilt.
Fight me, then.
Gladly, I say, getting into position. It takes him under 2 seconds to disarm me. It's so fast I'm not even sure how it happened.
Pick it up and try again,
he says. I let the anger fuel my strength and try again. He disarms me even faster. He does it again. And again. I'm nearly in tears from frustration and no small amount of humiliation. I have to beat him. But I can't. I'm not good enough. And everyone here knows it.
Enough!
Kai steps into the sparring circle, his own sword drawn. Thane looks over at Kai, the same disdainful expression on his face.
Well, if it isn't the Prince of Ravens coming to rescue the damsel in distress.
He looks back at me, leaning in close. As he speaks, spittle from his lips sprays over my face.
I don't need a sucker punch to win, but I will win. Make no mistake. I will always win, and I will use any means necessary to do so.
I fidget with the stylus for my tablet, tapping it against the desk as I think about my next step. Corinne sits beside me, dropping her tablet on the desk, and Whit flanks me on the other side.
He's a jerk,
Whit says. Corinne scowls at him over me. Be nice. He's just... Whit raises an eyebrow, and she sighs. Okay, he's a jerk. I know it was rough for him growing up with royalty and having the stigma of his family's betrayal. He was such a sweet kid. It's sad. But he shouldn't have treated you like that. He was right, though, I say. I let my guard down. I can't do that again. I need more training. Ragathon walks in, Kai following behind him. As Kai slips into the seat behind me, he tugs at my ponytail like a kindergartner. I turn to him, and he grins.
Let me cheer you up by taking you to lunch.
he whispers. We all have to eat at the dining hall, I remind him. He frowns.
I see you'll need more creative persuasion. I must think on this.
He leans back as Ragathon starts the class, and I can't help but smile a little, even as an idea comes to me. Kai's at the top of the class in combat. Even Thane seemed reluctant to fight him. And he is Varian's son. I could learn a lot from him. As we head to lunch after class, I tug at Kai's arm. Can we talk alone for a second? Wit and Corinne smile and nudge each other. I roll my eyes at them. Kai nods, and we walk toward the courtyard.
You were studiously avoiding me during PT and classes this morning. Have my natural charm and good looks finally persuaded you to see the light?
I laugh. Not exactly, but I need your help.
So, we're not going to talk about the kiss, and about what's happening between us?
I can't tell if he's teasing or serious, but I'm not ready to talk about it yet. Not now, but we will. Eventually. I just need time.
Okay, fair enough. What can I help you with?
I need to learn to fight better. I don't like losing.
That fight with Thane wasn't a fair match, and he knew it. He's been training as a knight since birth. He was showing off and bullying you.
I stop walking and turn to face him. But he wasn't wrong. I couldn't defeat him, even when he made it fair. Despite my extra strength and reflexes, I'm not good enough. And I need to be. And I need you to teach me. You're brilliant with a sword. Please, train me.
Can't I just beat Thane up for you?
I shake my head and cross my arms over my chest. I need to learn to fight my own battles. Another thought occurs to me. Why aren't you in any of the tournaments? You're obviously good enough. He shrugs.
It's not my thing. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
He winks, and I laugh. You sound like Wit, I say. Then I frown again and tug on his robe. Seriously, though, I need your help. He sighs.
Fine, I'll train you, but under one condition.
I narrow my eyes. What's that?
You have to go to the Halloween ball with me next month, in full costume.
I laugh. Do you always resort to extortion to get dates? He leans in and places a hand over my cheek, brushing a finger against my jaw.
Only with the girls I really like.
My stomach flutters a little at his touch. Okay, I'll go with you. But we start training right away. He smiles even bigger.
Deal. Meet me after classes today at the arena.
I shake my head. No, I mean right now. We have a 2-hour lunch. Teach me how to defeat someone like Thane. Teach me how to defeat someone like your father. Chapter 16. The Black Knight.
You know, some of us have to subsist on more than just air, life force, and marshmallows,
Kai says, complaining once again about missing lunch. Grab a sandwich on your way to our next class, I say. He rolls his eyes.
As you wish, master.
Our swords smack together as he corrects my posture, shows me new moves, and tells me to keep practicing. At the end of the 2 hours, my arm is burning, but I feel stronger and more confident. I'm not there yet, but it's a step. As I put my sword back on the rack, I ask to see his. He hands it to me, and I admire the masterful design work on the hilt and blade. Evie speaks in my ear. Scarlet, I detect an AI within this blade. It's not just steel. It carries a wealth of information on combat. With more time, I may be able to link with it. I twirl the blade in my hand. This is no normal sword. Kai takes it back and slashes the air.
An angel sword, passed down through our family.
I gasp. It can't be.
It is. This was one of the pieces that inspired our current angel technology.
My fingers itch to hold the weapon again, but I resist. I need to get my own sword, I say. Kai sheaths his blade, and we walk toward our next class together.
The right sword will pick you, when the time's right.
That sounds profound, I tease.
I'm serious. You can't just go out and buy a sword on a whim. Well, you can.
He grins.
But you shouldn't. You have to bond to your sword. It's an intimate relationship, and the choice must be made with care.
Once again, I wish I could use my mother's sword as Scarlet. Kai's stomach rumbles, and I reach into my bag and offer him a chocolate bar.
Thanks,
he says, stuffing half into his mouth.
So, what's up with you and Jax?
He asks once he's done chewing.
Because I know you want to wait to talk about the kiss, so I'm not going to talk about the kiss. But I will say that this thing...
He gestures between us.
It's something. It's not nothing. So I need to know. Am I poaching on someone else's girl?
First of all, ew! Did you seriously just compare me to a piece of property? He shakes his head.
No, you know what I mean. Jax is clearly in love with you. Were you dating? Are you dating?
What does it matter? I ask.
I've known Jax a long time, and I respect him.
If you're worried about his feelings, why don't you ask him yourself?
He's disappeared,
he says.
No one knows where he is.
Exactly.
I see. So, then, you're a free agent?
Not if you keep using these lame metaphors, I'm not. He laughs.
Scarlet, are you currently involved with anyone?
No, I say honestly. I'm not.
Okay, then.
But I should warn you, I tell him. We stop in front of our class, my hand on the door. I'm not really dating material right now. He puts a hand over mine and gently squeezes.
I'm a patient guy, and you seem like the kind of girl who's worth the wait.
What if you're wrong? I ask, looking into his purple eyes. What if I end up hurting you? He cocks his head.
Those are two different questions. I can handle pain, Scarlet. As for being worth the wait, I already know you are. I'm not wrong about that.
Another month of training and classes fly by. The deeper I get into life at the castle, the harder it is to get out to the cathedral as nightfall. But I've been doing my best. There's something all those comic books and movies don't tell you about living a double life. You don't actually get double time. I've had to feed from blood packs a few times just to keep up my strength. Between training in class, training with Kai, training with Zoran, and studying, not to mention trying to coordinate with all of the rebel groups, I'm chronically exhausted. My roommate keeps giving me the side eye, like she's trying to diagnose my mental illness. Agatha has to be suspicious about my schedule and wardrobe malfunctions after so much fighting and training. Just the secret-keeping part of my life is draining. Evie keeps me on track with a highly encrypted memory file of both my lives. I'd be lost without her. But right now, I'm not studying or training or plotting. I'm just hanging with my friends watching the tournament in the Initiate Hall and talking about the Halloween ball that's a few weeks away. I almost feel normal. But whenever I look down at my hand and see the missing scar, I remember I'm anything but normal. Still, I grab the happy where I can find it, and today I'm finding it in a room decked out in the best Halloween decorations I've ever seen, courtesy of Corinne, with Wit and Kai as her helpers. I'm leaning against Kai's arm, which is wrapped around my shoulder as we lounge on the couch. We're still stuck in this in-between thing. Not quite officially dating, but not dating. I don't know what it is. All I know is he makes me laugh, and I need more laughter in my life. And I haven't heard from Jax since he left. There will always be a piece of my heart that belongs to Jax. And I can't really be with Kai for the same reasons I can't be with anyone. I'm Nightfall. I'm enemy number 1. But I'm also just a girl who needs some happiness, some laughter, some kindness in her life. Kai offers that, and I'm too selfish to say no to him. You three really outdid yourselves in here, I say. Corinne used her own artwork, combined with pieces formed from Eden fashionables, to turn our hall into a goth-haunted manor. There are skeletons that turn their heads to follow you around the room, and bats perched from the ceiling that fly at you when you least expect it. There's nothing quite like waking up to screams in the middle of the night when a student ventures into the hall and is attacked by a not quite alive but far too real bat. Right now, Corinne is hand-painting parts of her Halloween costume, while Whit's eyes are glued to the tournament. Two knights are fighting each other on a life-size E-screen, the sounds of their battle echoing throughout the hall. One is wearing black armor, the other blue.
I still don't get why we can't know who's in the costumes, Lana says, leaning against Whit's arm.
They've been together non-stop since the night at Fairy Realm.
It keeps it competitive, Whit says. You can't research your opponent beforehand, so you have to rely on what happens in the arena. I wonder who the Black Knight is. He's good,
Kai says. Corinne holds up a silk shirt she's been painting on.
What do you think? Won't Yaden look handsome in this?
She points to the blue patterns.
This is a perfect match for his eyes.
Are you two hanging out a lot?
Kai asks, and I can hear the protective edge in his voice.
A bit, but it's not serious,
she says with a smirk.
No need to go big brother on him just yet. He's a nice guy.
When Ragathon comes into the hall, I tense. I've never seen him here, and it feels invasive. Kai squeezes my shoulder in silent support. Corinne smiles at him, though, without reservation.
Hi, Uncle.
He sits next to her at the table and hands her a small bag.
I picked these up for you while I was in the city. You mentioned you needed them for your costume.
She opens the bags and examines the different colored beads with a large smile.
Thank you! These are perfect!
She leans over to hug him, and I'm pretty sure my jaw drops to the floor. I've never seen Ragathon be nice before, except in that one vision.
You're doing a great job on this, he says,
gently touching the hem.
It's lovely.
She smiles and returns to her work as Ragathon looks up at the knights fighting.
Who's your money on?
He asks Whit.
The Black Knight,
Whit says,
though I think the White Knight is going to be a close contender.
I agree, the Grandmaster says. Kai chuckles.
Are you two actually betting?
Whit looks down and grins, and Ragathon raises an eyebrow.
Of course not, says Ragathon. It's just a turn of phrase. How's your training coming, Kai?
Kai shrugs.
As good as can be expected, given Father's growing influence.
Ragathon scowls.
My brother does have a way of ticking people off.
Sure, Varian is the one who irritates people. Ragathon looks at me with another scowl, as if I'm right up there with Varian on the ticking people off scale. Maybe I am.
You two have been spending a lot of time together lately, he says to me. It seems everywhere I turn, there you are.
I'm about to tell him that Kai is training me, but Kai responds first.
We're dating,
he says, pulling me closer. He says it in a tone that allows for no argument, and Ragathon sighs and stands.
I'll leave you kids to it then. Have fun.
After he leaves, my body relaxes. Your uncle doesn't like me.
He doesn't like many people,
Kai says. He seems to like you three, I say.
Everyone has a soft spot, Corinne says. He's not all bad.
There's something I've been curious about, though. He looks older than Varian. Why isn't he king? Kai looks at his brother and sister and then at me.
He and our father fell in love with the same woman. Our mother. She loved them both in their own way, I think, but in the end she chose our father. Ragathon banished himself to North America to teach here, and did everything he could to dissociate with our family.
He's married now, right? With a child of his own? The librarian. The memory. Little pieces of Ragathon that don't fit the man I see every day. Corinne nods, looking up from her painting.
I think he loves us because of our mother. He never really got over her. He sees her in us.
Especially Corinne, Kai says. She looks just like our mother.
I turn to Kai. Why did you tell him we're dating?
I love my uncle, he says, but I see how he treats you, and it's not okay. This was my way of telling him to back off. You're family.
Corinne grins.
I, for one, love seeing you two together. When are you going to make it official?
Wit joins in the teasing.
Then I can write epic poems about my big brother and his great love.
Kai lightly punches Wit's shoulder.
We'll go public with our relationship as soon as Scarlett here admits she can't stand the thought of living without me.
I roll my eyes at him. You don't have high demands of a new relationship, do you?
Ah, so you admit this is a relationship, then? We've made progress.
I turn to Wit, ready to change the subject. What are you and Lana going as? Something dripping in romantic tragedy, I'm guessing.
How right you are, he says with a wink.
Lana smiles too, her dark eyes happy.
We're going as Lancelot and Guinevere. What about you and Kai? What are you going as?
We don't know yet, I admit. Kai nudges me.
I wanted to go as Romeo and Juliet.
But their love story is stupid and they both die like idiots, so no. Wit jumps up and shouts, and I look up to see the Black Knight winning another round.
I cannot wait for December. This is going to be the most epic tournament festival ever.
My mouth is full of chocolate when my day of lounging with friends is interrupted by a message from Zoran.
Need to meet in Times Square. Important.
I swallow too much at once and nearly gag. I text Zoran from my wrist keyboard telling him I'm on my way. Now for the hard part. I stand and stretch and check the time. Hey guys, I'm going to get going. I want to spend some time at my apartment this weekend, and it's already getting kind of late. Corinne frowns.
You're always taking off alone. What do you do by yourself all the time?
This is so hard. I hate lying, even though what I'm about to say isn't actually a lie. I'm sorry, it's just I'm still dealing with a lot from my parents' death, and sometimes it gets to be too much. I'm not used to living around so many people. Keep in mind, I grew up an only child, homeschooled in isolated Montana. Wit shrugs.
Fare thee well, lovely maiden. Forget not about thy loyal friends.
I smile at him. Never. And I won't be gone all weekend. I just need rest. I'm dead on my feet from all the training, and it's impossible to sleep here. Corinne nods, her face finally relaxing. That's true. And you do need sleep. I can hear you tossing and turning most nights, even for the few hours you're in bed. You must be knackered. I've never shared a room before, I tell her, truthfully.
Have a nice weekend, she says. We'll miss you.
She looks pointedly at Kai. I walk out, but Kai follows me and places a hand on my arm. I think he's going to give me a hard time, but instead he smiles kindly.
I know it's easy for everyone to forget what you've gone through. You handle it so well. And life at Castle V makes the world out there seem less real at times.
He holds my hands between his, warming them.
But I get it. Just know I'm here for you if you need me.
He kisses my forehead and walks away. And I feel like the worst human being ever for lying to such good people. For lying to my friends. I meet Zoran at Times Square, and we sit together on a bench. He wears a long black coat. We both stare at the city. I stopped 2 executions here, and the place looks alive as ever. Sounds of chatter and cars and music fill the air, e-screens light up the sky, and hundreds of people shuffle by, lost in their bubbles of media. So, I ask, what is so urgent I had to leave my friends? He pulls Knox out of his coat.
Knox misses you.
What? I cross my arms, frowning. You sure it's only Nox? He grins.
I didn't ask anyone else.
I groan, petting the cat. Why do some people never admit how they feel, Nox? He purrs in response. Yeah, you have no trouble sharing how you feel, don't you, my kitty? I'm glad the big bad Nephilim didn't eat you in your sleep. Zoran joins me in petting the cat, and our hands touch for a moment.
How was your day?
He asks. Great. I'm trying to pick a Halloween costume for the ball.
You can go as Lilith, the first Nephilim to be turned.
Right. Lilith at Castle V. I might as well dress as Nightfall. We both chuckle, though Zoran sounds half-hearted.
Are you going with anyone?
He asks. His tone is serious. Is he jealous? No, he doesn't see me that way. Does he? I am, I say, deciding the direct approach is best. With Kai. He raises an eyebrow.
The Prince of Ravens?
He's a good person.
He's the enemy.
I lower my voice, but I can't hide my frustration. My goal is to tear down the orders, not kill everyone affiliated with them.
And what is Kai's goal? Corinne's? Wit's? Will they stand by idly as you destroy the orders?
I shiver, trying not to imagine the future as he does. Maybe they'll join me.
They are Varian's children.
But they are not him. Zoran sighs.
Believe me when I say, it's easy to fight an enemy. It's much harder to fight a friend.
I'm tired of his opposition. Is there anything else you need to say? He frowns at my response.
Yes.
He pauses.
The Nephilim.
I wonder if he asks just to irritate me. We're not creating more.
You will need them to win this war.
I snap at him. Because they won the first time? He freezes. His eyes are sad.
You want to know how I feel, Scarlet. When Danica died, I dedicated myself to protecting those prosecuted by the Inquisition. Zeniths, Nephilim, humans who made enemies. And now, the Nephilim are nearly gone. The Zeniths are treated as less than people. I failed, Scarlet. I don't want you to fail as well.
He squeezes the bench railing, bending the steel.
I can't have you fail.
Chapter 17. Curatio Domus. The night of the Halloween ball, the castle is abuzz with madness of the fun variety. Everyone's getting into the spirit, including the resident knights and faculty. And our dorm room looks like an evil seamstress cursed us to be buried alive in fabric. Larry and Agatha were here all afternoon doing our makeup and hair, fussing over every inch of us. Corinne looked bored. She's used to it. I'm still learning. But I have to admit the end result is pretty spectacular. I sit on my bed to pull on the silver boots for my costume and feel a prick of pain on my thigh. I dig and find a stray sewing needle. Holding it up to Corinne, I raise an eyebrow. She grins sheepishly and takes it from me.
Sorry, I know it's a bit insane in here. I'll get it all cleaned up this weekend, I promise.
I finish lacing my boots and stand to look at myself in the full-length mirror. It's okay. Thanks for making my costume. You did an incredible job. My red velvet skirt falls to the ground, and thin mesh metal armor clings to my torso. Corinne can't resist making a few last-minute adjustments as I stand there. Finally, she straightens up and smiles.
Perfect. But I still wish you and Kai could have gone as something matching.
I know, we've destroyed all your dreams, I say as I twirl to look at the back of my costume.
You have. I'll never recover. But Juliana suits you somehow.
And, well, I'm not surprised my brother chose who he did. I admire the final look. the crimson cross hand-painted onto my thin breastplate and the fake sword hanging from my hip complete the look. The sword is impressive in its detail, and looks authentic at a glance, but it would break in a duel. I still haven't found my own sword, or, as Kai would say, my sword hasn't found me. Until it does, I'm stuck using the chipped swords from combat class. There's a knock at the door, and Corinne squeals. "They're here!" She's splendid in blue silk she painted herself, with Eden fashionable star flowers sewn into the fabric. They shimmer silver and blossom into star patterns that glow. She wears her hair long and white with streaks of blue, and horns stick delicately out of her forehead. Her ears are long and pointed, and a beautiful crown of flowers sits on her head. She's an elf queen straight from fantasy books. And as she opens the door, she greets her elf king. Yaden looks devastatingly handsome and exotic with his pointed ears and horns and long white hair. They both shimmer with silver body paint and daring eye makeup that transforms them into something magical. I smile at them both. You two are definitely winning the costume contest tonight. When Kai comes into the room, I burst out laughing. "You look perfect," I tell him as he pulls me into a hug. He bows, his eyes twinkling in mischief.
"The dashing and dangerous pirate Veramus at your service."
His eye patch gives him a wicked look, and the black beard he wears transforms him into someone I almost don't recognize. He holds out an arm, and I take it.
"Shall we?"
Corinne takes Yaden's arm and looks around.
"Where are Wit and Lana?"
"Meeting us at the party,"
Kai says. As we walk through the halls of the castle toward the grand ballroom, other groups and couples dressed in every imaginable costume press through to attend the ball. And what a ball! Already the ballroom is filled with people dancing. Fog drifts over the floor, transformed by lights into something eerie and beautiful. A live band entertains the crowd from the stage, with walking skeletons as their backup dancers. Round tables draped in dark purple, with black chairs padded by red velvet cushions, line the outskirts of the dance floor. At the center of each table are candelabras encased in intricate spiderweb designs that sparkle like diamonds. Toward the back of the ballroom is a long table piled high with food and drink, all recreated in the Halloween theme. "This is amazing," I say, as we scan the crowd for Wit. He raises his hand from across the room.
"Over here!"
We join Wit and Lana at the table they saved for us, sinking into the plush velvet seats. "You two make an excellent Lancelot and Guinevere," I tell them. I turn to Corinne. "I can't believe you had time to design everyone's costumes in addition to studying." She smiles, blushing a little under the praise. "I love doing it. It's just another kind of art. A kind women were creating for centuries without getting the recognition they deserved." "I'm surprised there's such a big ball in the middle of the quarter," I say. Wit smiles.
"It's the last hurrah before we all buckle down and get serious about the trials and winning a boon from an order."
Corinne smiles.
"Especially with the death last year.
Everyone's extra motivated." "The party before the war, then?" I ask. Yaden nods.
"Basically."
Kai stands and offers me a hand.
"Would the lady like to dance before she leads an army to battle?"
The words are closer to the truth than he knows, but I smile and accept his hand. The lady would. As we dance, his arms wrapped around me, I enjoy the feel of this, of being normal and having fun for one night. He kisses the top of my head.
"You've worked really hard this quarter," he says. "You've improved so much. I don't know if you see how much stronger, faster, and more focused you are now."
I look up at him and laugh. And here I was just thinking it was nice to have a night off work and school and training.
"Fair enough," he says. "No training talk tonight. Can I at least tell you how beautiful you are?"
A warmth spreads through me. "Thank you." I watch others dancing around us, and am surprised to see my grandfather dancing with Kira. Lana and Whit dance, and then leave to get drinks for everyone. We join them back at our table, and I nibble on a severed finger, some kind of pastry with a strawberry filling. I gag and use a napkin to spit it out. Kai looks over and laughs.
I've never met such a picky eater.
I shrug. I have standards. He excuses himself from the table.
Wait here, I have a surprise for you.
My curiosity is piqued when Kai returns holding a plate of something. He places it in front of me.
I asked the kitchen to make these for you.
I look down at the plate and grin. Chocolate-covered marshmallows? He nods, smiling. I pick up one with a small silver fork and stick it into my mouth. It's divine. I want to clean the plate, but first I lean over to Kai, pulling him into a hug. Thank you, I whisper into his ear. You're amazing. I'm eating the last of my dessert when my grandfather walks over and holds out his hand.
Might I have a dance with my granddaughter?
I look to Kai, who smiles, and I join the Chancellor on the dance floor.
I regret we haven't had more time to spend together since you've been here,
he says.
It's been a few weeks since you last came for tea and stories about your mother.
I know, I'm sorry. It's a lot of work, being here and keeping up. He nods.
I understand, dear. Just know you are always welcome. You have an ally here.
Thank you. The Seeker and Ragathon talk near the punch bowl, and I nod my head at them. I noticed you dancing with Kira earlier. I didn't realize you two were close. His eyes drift to her.
She's been here her whole life. We are the only family she's ever known.
I feel a twinge of sadness for her. She may have known my grandfather and my best friend in ways I didn't, but she never had parents. Family. My grandfather looks over at Kai, who's watching us.
Are you getting serious with the Prince of Ravens?
I think about my answer. I don't know. We're kind of stuck between friends and something more, because of me. But I might be ready for that something more now.
He's a good man, he says, from a good family.
As the song ends, he escorts me back to my table and kisses my hand.
Enjoy your evening.
I settle into my seat, and Kai puts an arm over the back of my chair.
We were just talking about going through the haunted house. What do you think?
There's a haunted house? I love haunted houses, and every Halloween my dad would take me on a tour of them throughout our city. My mom couldn't stand them, so it was just us. I follow my friends eagerly and wait in line until our turn arrives. Inside, everything is black, dark, crazy. The spaces are tight, and we crowd in. So many people squished into the lines. They're screaming and laughing and silly, scary shocks. I love every minute of it. When we reach a maze of mirrors, we each take a different path to see who can get to the end first. I'm just about to find my way out when someone from the shadows grabs me. I scream, but the sound is lost in all the other noises. So I turn to fight when a familiar face smiles at me. Jax? He puts a finger to his lips and pulls me outside.
I'm not supposed to be here.
I hug him, relief pouring through me that he's okay. Where have you been?
I can't tell you,
he says, his voice sad.
But I missed you, Star. I needed to see you.
I missed you too, I say. We stand there, awkward, uncomfortable, that kiss sitting between us. He clenches his jaw.
I had to tell you. I'm sorry about how I left things. It wasn't fair or right.
I put a hand on his chest. It's okay. I understand. But you were right. Things between us, it would be complicated. He nods, a small frown on his face. As if on cue, Kai comes out of the maze and sees us. He walks over and puts an arm around my shoulders.
Jax, we weren't expecting you here tonight.
Jack steps back.
I'm not really here.
He looks at me with sad eyes.
Take care of yourself, Star.
He walks into the shadows as my e-glass buzzes and Evie speaks.
Scarlet, Zoran needs you at the cathedral right away. The Sons of Eden are holding Curatio Domus hostage, and they need Nightfall.
Kai touches my shoulder.
Are you okay?
I shake my head.
No, I'm sorry. I have to go.
I hug him, leaning my head on his chest, before I turn and walk away. I join Trix, TR, and Zoran in the war room. We gather around the war table and discuss the hostage situation. I try not to think of the broken-hearted look on Jax's face when Kai put his arm around me, or the broken-hearted look on Kai's face when I left him at the ball.
The Sons of Eden are demanding the Knights Hospitaller be dismantled, says Trix.
TR scowls.
That will never happen. If it doesn't, then Adam blows up the entire hospital at midnight, Trix says.
I project my e-glass feed of the event onto the table. Officers surround the building. This looks too familiar.
Are we sure it's not another trap?
Trix shakes her head. It's unlikely, since the Sons are involved. I nod. What's blocking our entry?
Nothing, says Trix. But if anyone is seen leaving or entering the building, Adam will set off the explosives.
I rub my chin. We have discreet ways of entering buildings. Trix grins.
You thinking sewers again, En?
I pause. Varian saw that move in advance. Will Adam? Zoran points at the exits on my projection.
What if someone leaves the building?
What do you mean? I ask. He shrugs.
There are hundreds of people in that hospital. What if one of them breaks and runs?
Then they'll kill everyone, says Trix.
Is Adam inside?
Asks Zoran. Trix nods, pointing to the center of the hospital.
He's on the roof, preaching. He says one of the detonators is attached to his heart and will go off if he dies. He's acting invulnerable.
Pieces of a plan click together in my mind.
He thinks he'll win this. He doesn't expect to die.
And so he's not concerned with his opponents. He's nothing compared to Varian. TR raises an eyebrow.
You think he's bluffing?
I think he's so confident in his abilities he can't imagine losing. TR nods.
He did seem to have a superiority complex at the meeting.
So what's the plan, En?
Asks Trix. Did your military training cover disabling bombs? I ask.
Sure did, she says.
Good. I tap the projection. I'll speak with Adam. While I do, you three enter the building through the sewers, find the explosives, and defuse them. TR studies the image of the hospital.
I estimate 3 bombs, maybe 4. What if they're defended?
I'll deal with any guards,
says Zoran. Everyone nods. We've all seen Zoran kill faster than someone can pull a trigger. We work out the details. As we're about to leave, TR frowns.
You realize if we do this, we're publicly fighting another major rebel group. The Orders will use this to discredit us.
I clasp his shoulder, meeting his eyes. If we do this, we are publicly saving hundreds of people. They'll remember what we've done.
If our plan succeeds, the Sons of Eden will be captured,
TR says. That's why I'll meet with Adam. Hopefully I can convince him to change his methods and join the Dark Templars. I grab the hilt of my sword. But if I can't, I'd rather he be executed than allowed to threaten others again. Whatever happens tonight, I won't threaten Adam. Nightfall must be a symbol for more than just threats and violence. The people need to see that the Dark Templars can negotiate a peaceful resolution. While the others travel ahead, I find the Night Raven in the catacombs. A black roof has been installed for the chamber since I was last here, true to Zoran's words. Evie opens it for me and sets a flight path for the hospital. En route, I ask Evie to contact Crixus. After a brief pause, I hear his voice.
Nightfall, what a pleasant surprise.
Crixus, I assume you've seen the news about Curatio Domus?
Yes.
We could use your help, I say.
We cannot jeopardize our plans just to intervene in a dangerous and ultimately meaningless mission. Even if you succeed, you gain our cause nothing. If you fail, we lose too much.
I want to argue, to point out why this does help us. But I don't think I will sway him. Nor will he sway me. So you won't help?
No, and I would strongly advise you to stay out of it as well. Let the orders deal with it.
I understand your position, but I'm still moving forward. I disconnect the call. We are nearly at the hospital when Evie says, "Scarlet, you have an incoming communication." "From who?" "Varian. He must have noticed the Night Raven." I freeze. Why does he want to speak with me? Put him through.
"I see you emerge once again, Nightfall,"
says Varian. I keep my lips from shaking. "The Sons of Eden must be stopped."
"Agreed. I will not oppose you."
I can't trust him, but he has no reason to lie. "Keep the orders away from the building. I will defuse the explosives."
"Very well."
"Communication over," says Evie. "Good. Trix, how are you doing?" She speaks through my e-glass. "We're nearly in the building. Keep me up to date." I examine the city below. Hundreds of people crowd around the hospital. Some to cry for relatives, others to watch the spectacle, and a few to film the whole thing. If this had been a hospital strictly for Zeniths, their concern would be replaced with cheers. It makes me sad. "Evie, take us down to Adam." She does. No one interferes, as Varian promised. The Night Raven hovers above the hospital's roof. The cockpit opens, and I stand face to face with Adam. He smiles, amplifying his voice with his e-glass.
"Come to join the celebration?"
I feed my speech through the city speakers. I want everyone to know I oppose this. "There will be no celebration, Adam. You will accomplish nothing today." He frowns, his wrinkles creasing.
"You are wrong. Today I will destroy the Hospitallers."
"The orders would demolish this hospital themselves before they meet your demands."
"Ah,"
he says, raising a finger.
"But if they do, then they will have proven they care nothing for their people. Riots will break out. The orders will crumble. I will still win."
I gasp. His view of himself is higher than I even realized. He may choose to be a martyr, rather than surrender today. I ask Trix for an update. They're already in the building. I have to be careful. "One day, the orders will fall, but not in this way. Consider what will happen if others take up your example. They'll threaten innocents, kill good people for power. What will be left in the end?"
"Innocents? Good people?"
He spits off the roof.
"They are sinners. They believe they know better than God. They believe mankind must be altered, when it is already perfected."
I shake my head. Not everyone in this hospital is part of Hospitaller. There are innocent patients. He chuckles.
"I know you do not believe my arguments, but consider these patients. They have decided that humans are better than Zeniths, that Nephilim should not even be allowed existence. Yet are we not all God's children?"
I must be careful how I respond. His question is a trap, asking me to choose between humans and Zeniths. "If we are all God's children, then why do you threaten to kill hundreds of them?" He frowns.
"If they die tonight, then I have saved them from further corruption. It is my duty to protect their souls."
Evie interrupts. "Scarlet, 3 minutes left until midnight." Trix updates me. "We've disabled the first explosive. Zoran knocked out the guard."
I turn my attention back to Adam. And what of your soul? Is it your destiny to die tonight? Is there no more good you can do? He raises his hand, and I spot the detonator in his grasp.
What I accomplish today,
he says softly,
will echo through the ages.
You have 3 minutes left, I remind him, scared he's ready to pull the trigger.
2 minutes now,
he says. He trembles. Is he losing his courage? Leave now, I tell him. Join me, and we will create such an echo. It will surpass anything you have imagined. I play to his ego, hoping the promise of victory and the fear of death sway him. His eyes are sad.
They annihilated nearly the entirety of your race. How can you protect them? How do you not hate them?
His words feel personal. Does he remember he speaks to a crowd? I hate what occurred, but a friend once told me, vengeance and justice cannot be the same, and I would rather have justice. Another update. Only 1 bomb to go, Anne. 1 minute left, says Evie. I need to keep Adam talking and unaware of time. I don't think of my lessons in speech. I don't think of what I believe. I let the words take hold of me. The people you killed today did not destroy my race. They did not draft the laws that torture Zeniths. Are they innocent? No. None of us are. And we are all punished for it. So if you are to punish these people, be fair. Be just. Do they deserve to die? Adam flinches, his lip quivering. He speaks quietly, as if to himself.
It's too late now. I have no choice. They killed my people.
What does he mean?
They turned the world against us. I did not want anyone to know, in case they hated me, in case they found me. But now, in the end...
A silver glow surrounds him. No, he can't be! And Adam unleashes his wings. They drift in the wind, silver, like mine. He raises the detonator. The last bomb is still active.
Now, says Adam, I rejoin my people.
He presses the trigger. The corner of the hospital explodes. The building shakes beneath us as metal, glass, and fire rain down on the people below. I fall to my knees, tears burning my eyes. Trix! Zoran!
We are still here,
says Zoran.
I'm sorry, we weren't fast enough.
Adam raises his arms, no doubt expecting the explosions to reach him. They do not. His eyes widen in panic. He presses the trigger again. It doesn't work. Adam drops the trigger, his eyes red. He looks to me. He looks peaceful. And then a gun fires. The bullet hits Adam in the head, and he falls to the people below. Chapter 18. Tested. Adam was torn apart by the mob. The Inquisition officers did nothing to stop it. I closed my cockpit and disappeared into the sky. Now, I'm back at the war table with my Dark Templars. Trix is flicking a coin so that it spins upright. Zoran is reading an old black book. And TR sips on a beer, laughing at something funny on his e-glass. None of us want to face what just happened. I consider asking about the media response, but I don't. People died in that hospital because we weren't fast enough, weren't smart enough, and they died at the hands of a Nephilim. I've never felt great pain for the loss of Nephilim. I suppose I never truly considered them my people. But today,
I saw that pain in Adam's eyes. The world did a terrible thing when it nearly annihilated my kind. I can't let it happen again. But today, there is no more work. So I allow everyone their distractions, because we tried our best. And tomorrow we will try again. Ours is a hard life. No reason to make it harder. It's with a heavy heart that I leave the cathedral and return to Castle V. Too many lives lost, all in the name of justice. I'm starting to wonder what I'm doing as Nightfall. Am I making a difference for the better? Or am I making everything worse? I just don't know anymore. And I feel tired to my core. So tired. When I arrive at the castle, I find Wit in the common hall alone. He looks up when I come in.
"Where have you been?"
he asks. His eyes are red-rimmed and he seems angry. "At my apartment," I say. I needed space after everything with Kai and Jax.
"Did you hear about what happened at Curatio Domus?"
I nod. I came back as soon as I heard. Is Corinne okay? Wit shakes his head.
"No, she's not. She got a call from Sarah at the hospital. Charlie, the girl you met, was killed tonight by the rebels. She just had her transplant, and it was working. She was getting better and was about to be discharged from the hospital for the first time in years. Now she's dead. Corinne could have really used her best friend."
I'm stunned for a moment. First at the news that the sweet girl I met on the first day of APD is dead, and then at Wit calling me Corinne's best friend. But I guess he's right. We are best friends. All of us. I hang my head in sadness. I've failed them again. It seems no matter what choice I make, I fail someone. Where is she now?
She went back to the hospital. There are memorials going up for the victims.
I turn to leave, and Wit speaks again, stopping me.
"She went by your apartment. You weren't there."
I don't know what to say to that, so I don't say anything. To save time, I use my wings to fly into the city as discreetly as I can, and head to the hospital. I was here as Nightfall. Now I'm coming back as Scarlet. I find Corinne kneeling in front of a memorial left on the steps of Curatio Domus. Already pictures of those who lost their lives have been erected, and Eden flowers are swaying and changing color, blooming and releasing beautiful scents into the night air. There are candles burning and crosses erected, and Corinne is crying at the picture of Charlie. I sink to my knees beside her and put an arm around her. I'm sorry. She turns to me, her face red from crying.
"Why did you bail again, Scarlet? Where are you always going?"
I'm so sorry, Corinne. I should have been there. I didn't know. Tears fill my eyes, and her face softens. She hugs me, and our tears mingle. I'm just glad you're here now. Thank you for coming. We look back at the face of the young, beautiful girl whose life ended too soon.
"Why?"
Corinne asks.
"Why hurt innocent people? How is that supposed to bring peace or whatever it is they want? How does killing this girl make the world a better place for anyone?"
Pain has a way of testing us. It either breaks us or makes us stronger. Corinne throws herself into her studies even more after Charlie dies. We all take our studies more seriously since the attack on Curatio Domus. It's the second half of the quarter, and the trial is around the corner. We all want to be ready. So here we are, noses buried in our books. Kai places a steaming mug of coffee in front of me, and I inhale it gratefully. Thank you. The cup warms my hands as I sip on the delicious nectar. I already drank a packet of Life Force,
but nothing can replace my love for coffee. He kisses the top of my head and sits next to me, his books already spread out over the table.
You're welcome. How's it going?
I look down at the law book open in front of me, full of highlighted sections and notes in the margins. All mine. It's going. Slowly. Corinne grins over at us, and I can see her mind spinning. She loves even the smallest display of affection between us, as she believes it will lead to more soon. Maybe it will. We've been taking it slow since Halloween. This last month has been about us getting to know each other better. Training. Studying. It seems that after Halloween comes the panicked cramming and studying phase of the quarter. For the last several weeks, our trips to the city and nights hanging out chatting have gotten further and further apart as our workload in our classes increase. Now we only have a few more weeks until finals, and my eyeballs feel dead in their sockets from all the reading. Whit and Lana have become glued at the hip. Yaden and Corinne aren't dating, but he's joined our little gang of friends and brings his own charm. And even Akio is here, his wisdom adding something special to our interactions together.
Who do you think's a shoo-in for the boons from each order?
Yaden asks. Whit looks up from his computer, where he's trying to hack into a dummy account I created for each of them to practice on.
I definitely won't be getting one from the Templars. But Scarlet, you'll get something, I'm sure.
Maybe, I say. It's the class I'm strongest in. But Whit, you're awesome at law and order.